Welcome to the Fullcaster Podcast, episode 23. Very, very excited about today's guest. None other than Rob Howden of obvious e-karting news fame and much, much more. Stoked to get him on here, and lucky because he's actually in town here in the wintertime. It's, again, November 22nd.
Yes.
So he's able to hang out. We'll talk about it more when he jumps on here, but this would have been Super Sunday for Supernats.
Yeah.
And
there's been all the throwback pics of everyone posting Supernats, saying how much they miss it, all that kind of stuff now.
It's been kind of cool going on the social media and checking that kinds of crap out, and I got a chance to go race it for my first time last year, and just now getting a chance to relate.
Yeah, for sure.
It does suck. Not being there.
I just got to see it the first time last year when you got to race, but I'm like, man, I was really looking forward to it. At least if I'm not going to go race, at least spectate the thing.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty bummed out we didn't get to this year.
Yeah, and you get the absolute best in the business in all parts of karting showing up in one deal. But yeah, and then ironically, Rob happens to be in town, and we get a chance to get him on the show here.
Flew in from the
special for
Great North, just overnight.
So that's going to be awesome to get him on here. And actually, today is the penultimate round of LAKC. Actually, I got a chance to go out and play a little bit, trying to get ready for Challenge of the Americas. When this airs, this will be we're doing this November 22nd, but it's going to actually air the beginning of February. So first round of challenge already be in the books. Hopefully, it's gone well for me. But getting a chance to just shake off the rust. I haven't been in a race since Buttonwillow, right?
Yeah, Pro Kart earlier this year.
Yeah, that was the last time I got a chance to run. So it was nice to get out there in the go kart that actually I ran last year.
Yeah,
got sold.
It really came full circle with that thing,
and
didn't
came back around. So I'm driving the exact same ride. Feels pretty good. Need to work on a few things. We just ran old tires today to, not spend a lot of money on stuff because they're changing the tire for challenge.
Right.
So it didn't make a lot of sense for us to...
or something.
Levant,
Something weird.
Yeah. Well,
we'll just call it LeConte because everyone's going to know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well,
they're changing that tire, so...
Yeah.
Hopefully soon you'll be able to get some seat time on that thing, actually.
Yeah, in the second, in the very, very last LAKC on December 20th. I'm hoping to be able on those tires, so...
Nice.
I think we'll probably just run the GP. Not the 100cc on that one.
Yeah.
We'll get some testing in, but anyways, that's what's going on right now. Have you had anything new? We actually just recorded with Stu on, was it Monday? Was it this week?
No, it was last Monday.
Was it?
Yeah. Oh, wait, was it Monday?
I think it was less than a week ago, so these current events are pretty bloody the same.
Yeah.
But because of that, I guess we can say piss off to the current events and let's get to the good stuff.
We're caught up.
Yeah. Let's get our buddy on board here. Rob Howden, come on over. Rob Howden, thanks for coming out, my man.
It's good to be here, boys.
Man, so this is the off season for most people that we just got done talking about in the current events. We would hopefully all be at Supernats normally.
Yeah.
But you're able to come out here. How, aside from having maybe the time off because you normally would have been in Vegas, how is it that you're able to have a little skip and a jump to get here?
It's actually interesting. It was about 10 years ago. I used to bring my RV all the way from Canada out to the Super Nationals, and then I would go to Florida to cover the Florida Winter Tour races. In 2009, Tom Kutcher said, "You got to come just do Thanksgiving at my place in Temecula and hang out here." We did that. He ended up showing me an RV resort about 15 minutes out from Temecula, and I fell in love with the place and bought a lot there. So I've had the RV there since then, and we usually get here, I want to say 4 or 5 times a year. In between some events, we'll be out there in January between the races we're at. So yeah, it was here. We decided to come down, and it's Supernats, man. And you guys, there was a race at LAKC. I'm like, I better go up there
just for something.
I got to smell two-stroke. I got to smell it.
How long's the trek when you were driving from Canada to down here?
I haven't done that in a long time with the RV.
Right.
But it's back when I did it, it's easy. RV just hauls along the road, 7 hours a day, 5 days, and you're here. No big deal. No big deal.
Easy, man.
That's right.
Well, now you get to kick over here and hang out for a little bit. Obviously, we aren't doing the Supernats thing. Since you're able to do this, do you? For some of us, we're kind of always doing something in the karting deal. Do you get a chance to switch off at all? Do you get a chance to just chill out?
That's really interesting because I don't. I always say that I love my job because I don't need a vacation from it. You know, and people go on vacations. I just don't go on vacations. I'm 25 weekends out of the year, and I work probably 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day at home when I'm working. Because of the way I work, I can work anywhere, whether it's on a plane, in the RV, whatever it may be. So, you know, really a couple of weekends here and there. I like to cook, so I'm doing smash burgers or paella or something down when I'm at the RV resort. That's a place where I do hang out a little bit. But, man, you know, we're racers. I want to go to the races. I can't stay home. I go crazy. Like a couple of weekends at home, I'm losing my mind.
Well, we talked about you working, and for a lot of people, they're going to know Rob Howden and DavidCole, e-karting news, stuff like that. But maybe expand a little bit on what it is exactly that you do and how long you've been doing it and how'd you get started? Maybe jump into that a little bit.
It's pretty crazy, isn't it? My dad ran stock cars, so I fell in love with racing at a young age. Kind of got away from it a bit when I was in college, but when I got back at it, I ended up getting a job working for a racing newspaper in 1993, getting paid 4 cents a word to cover stock car races, road racing, and eventually I was full-time with them, but they sent me to do a go-kart race. And I went, wow, this is cool.
Was that locally?
In Ontario, in Toronto, yeah. And I all of a sudden did a couple kart races. I'm like, this is awesome. I got to do this. So I ended up buying a kart and racing, and I would just the way it kind of worked was the more races I went to. But I was selling advertising too, so I'd be like, I want to cover more go-kart races. Well, you got to sell more advertising. You know, X amount of dollars, got X amount of pages of karting coverage in this newspaper, Performance Racing News, that covered everything. Well, I just got good at selling advertising. So eventually we had like 16 full pages of kart racing in this like 100-something page deal because I was pushing it, right? And then I got hired by National Kart News, and then I was there for a couple of years, and I started my own magazine in 1998. And with $300 in the bank, I ended up selling I want to say 11 people gave me $700 per issue. They were going to be in for 7 issues, and away we went. That was 98. That was Shifter Card Illustrated magazine.
So in the early 90s, when you first was at the kart race, was that the very first time you seen a go-kart?
Well, you know, I think I saw it maybe in racing magazines, like in other magazines we had in Canada. I saw it, but I'd never been to a race before. Every Saturday night I was at the stock car track when my dad was running. That's what I did. And he would never venture out to take me anywhere. He was all focused on his own racing. So, yeah, the first time I kind of went to a couple of races, the Barrie Grand Prix was the first one I covered. And it was in the downtown streets of Barrie, Ontario. An incredible race, and I literally fell in love with it right there.
How old were you when you covered that first race?
As people don't realize, I was older. I think I was 25 at that point.
Okay.
So I got into it a little bit later. I didn't start the magazine until I was 30.
Wow.
Yeah.
But at 25, you see your first go-kart race, and it's because your dad had been doing the old stock car thing. And you're like, Dad, the hell?
Yeah, right. What's going on? Well, my dad's pretty selfish, to be real. Let's be real.
Held out on me.
Yeah. Like he never even let me get into the stock car when he had the stock car. I wasn't part of one of these worlds where it's like, oh yeah, my dad races. Well, my dad's got one too. Or my kid races with me. No. He was like, you can get your own cart, you little asshole.
Did you get your name on the door?
I don't even think I had my name on the door. I don't think I was even on the door.
He's taking you because he has to, not by
pretty
choice.
Much. Pretty much right. Yeah. I loved it. It was great.
Nice. Did you try to get him in the mag? Hey, Dad, how about a little bit of sponsorship here?
My parents divorced when I was young, so my dad, I made the mistake of working for my dad for a while. That strained our relationship a little bit, me working for him. I think he's been to maybe 2 of my races, actually, ever. He came to one club race. I was slow because I was on like the end of my tires. He bought me a new set of tires, put new Dunlops on. I think I won the next heat race because I had fresh rubber. And then he came to a shifter race I did in like 2001 in Florida, and that's it.
It's like, I've seen it.
I don't have the family support on that side.
Kid doesn't have it.
This has been all me. So it's tough. It's sad, but it's true. It is what it is.
When you worked for him, what were you doing?
He has a construction company. So we did like septic systems, putting in septic systems. I always felt the one thing I did that was my job, I dug graves as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I would dig graves.
Now, did you go to school and stuff like that out of high school?
I did 3.5 years of university for English. Didn't end up finishing, but
you speak English pretty well. So
I
think it works.
I do a decent job of it, I think. Yeah. I can't. I want to say I think I'm a course and a half short. But that was the early '90s. I don't need to do that anymore.
There's still hope for you.
I'll go back later.
Yeah.
No, not happening.
What made you go you were working for the newspaper, so by default, yeah, you're going to cover it. That would be the thing, and you like it. Did you automatically also try to get into like driving yourself at that time?
Well, that was it, right? When I fell in love with karting because it was so accessible, right? I wanted to race stock cars. That's what I wanted. I wanted to run ASA stock cars, super late models, but I didn't the shop. So many guys to work on cars. You understand how much it takes. I bought a kart for $1,700. It was in my garage. We were powered by, it was an overhead valve Honda back in the day. We didn't have Briggs yet up in Canada. And it was so accessible. So I would put it in the back of the pickup truck, and literally I would get up at 5 a.m, drive to the track, and I lived an hour away. I'd drive it and race the race, and we'd be done by, I think, noon or 1 o'clock. It was a morning deal. It was an old concession kart track. We'd pull all the tires back. We'd race, push all the tires back so that the rental cars can come back out in the afternoon.
Cool.
But then I would drive 2 hours to a stock car race and cover it for the magazine. Like, I would literally get home at like 2 a.m. I'd be just absolutely out of it. But I was racing.
It was all you just handling your own stuff?
Yeah. I had a buddy that helped me out some mornings, but it was just, it was the same thing. It's a 4-cycle. You don't need to have a lot of work done on it. And it was 1995. I had one axle. I wasn't changing axles. I wasn't changing hubs. I didn't know anything at all. Right?
They weren't even swapping them out when you bend them. It's actually knock
it back down. Yeah, for sure. No, it was. I had an old MXK. That's the chassis I had.
What is an MXK?
It was made in upstate New York. MXK. Pete Lip. It was fast. I won a bunch of races. It was good.
Did you get any championships under the old belt?
No, I don't know. You know what? This was the issue. So, because I was the editor of the magazine, the karting section of the magazine, I couldn't drive any of the primary go-karts because I didn't want anybody to think I had a bias. So in those days, it was either Burrell with Enzo Chiaviti or this guy Gino Romeo, and they had Margays and Coyotes. And there's some other karts. Sodi kart came in. I was always on like a one-off kart out of nowhere. Like I drove a white chassis from Indianapolis, and I'm the only guy with a white chassis. A local buddy built a Slack kart. His name was Bob Slack. I ran his kart for a year. Some guy had a Dino. I ran a Dino. I never ran. Like I don't think I've ever raced a CRG in all my 20-something years doing that. I don't think I've ever raced a CRG. It's crazy.
It's good because all those shifter drivers, they didn't want to think there was any favoritism going on.
Right. Yeah. But that's what it was. I just didn't want to have any didn't want anybody to think there was any favoritism. So because I was on different karts, I had no setup help or anything. So I was always like third, fourth, or fifth in the championships when I would run.
When was the last time you got a chance to go for a championship?
I never have.
Ever? Never actually got a chance to do enough races to accumulate?
I finished in my first year in shifters in S3 in the Florida Winter Tour. I think I finished third in the championship.
Were you covering it at the same time?
Of course, yeah. But for the magazine, right? There was no website at that point. I would just remember everything, go home and write it all out later on for the magazine.
Right.
No, at that point, for the S3, I think I won a couple of races I was on pole 3 of the 6 races, I think, and it was fun.
You could probably jump right back in S3 now.
I probably could.
You bring numbers back, actually. That'd be good.
Yeah. Oh, are you kidding me? I get a race for Rob Howden. I'm in. Absolutely.
Let's do it.
So you didn't all of it's print stuff out of the gate, right?
Well, obviously, I think a couple of years in, we tried to do a website. Like I tried to do it myself. We had such a short budget. I couldn't get anybody to do it. I had Shifter Kart Illustrated, and then the dirt guys were like, "Man, this is a really good magazine. We need one for us." So this guy, Harold Wiggins, who owns Phantom Racing Chassis, says, "I want you to do this. I'll advertise X amount of dollars." So I started Speedway USA magazine. And again, it was just me, right, at that point. And then the Formula Car guys saw what I was doing. They're like, "This is really cool." I started Formula Car magazine.
You probably had like a Monday available or something.
Literally, if you looked at my spreadsheets, it was 7 days, like 7 days of prep, like of work on each laying the magazine out. Eventually, I hired some guys to come and work. Todd McCall, Mike Marini worked for me as well. Tim Blaney, Jeff Deskins, David Cole, of course, when I bought eKarting News. But man, it was some pretty crazy days. So it was all print for a while, and then eKarting News came up for sale. They actually came to me, and I bought eKarting News. And I want to say 2004. I think I bought eKarting News.
Hasn't that late?
And Cole's been with me for 16 years.
Oh, that's cool.
From the beginning. He was my regional road racing reporter because he would cover races out of Michigan, like whatever races was, and I hired him full time.
How'd you find David Cole? How did that work out?
He literally. So David was one of the primary guys. I want to say the Michigan Kart Club, I think it was called. It was a road racing kart club, and he would call me for sponsorship for the magazine. And so I think Shifter Kart Illustrated sponsored the 125 Shifter 1 and 125 Shifter 2 the Saturday and Sunday for like $250 each or something, right? I didn't get to use my pit spot that came with it. So David did that. And then when he was doing it, I'm like, "Oh, you can help me out then. Let's send me some race reports." So he would just write up a couple of race reports that we would put in the magazine. And then I got a chance to meet him. I think we did a race at Windsor, and I think he came over and met me in Windsor. It was like a Stars of Karting race in the Windsor Grand Prix or something like that when Ray Hall had it. And I met him there, and like, "This is a pretty cool guy, good dude." And he was there to hire. He loved racing. I'm like, "Do you want to work on my website?" "Yeah, I do." So I literally hired him. We bought it. I think I bought it in October. We went to Super Nationals. I brought him to Super Nats, and away we went.
Wow.
Man.
16 years ago.
Yeah.
I can't be that bad of a boss. He's been with me for 16 years.
Well, at this point, he's like, oh, what the hell else
What
am I
else
going to
is
do?
Exactly, yeah.
Exactly.
You got him.
He's locked. He's locked in. Where else are you going to go, Cole? That's a nice resume you have.
One job, nice, yeah.
I served pizza and I worked for a website. I will say this about David. That's one of the things. David eats, as we all know, right? He's hamburgers and pizza and spaghetti and Bacardi and Coke. He's very locked in. But the way he's evolved in his job is what blows me away, right? He obviously works his ass off. He's got a great work ethic, loves the sport like I do. But he went from being a website manager loading stories up to now he's a fantastic photographer as well. Then I get him into, to some website or not like graphic design for all the stuff we post up on social. Now he's producing podcasts and TV. Like the amount of stuff that he's learned and picked up along the way, it's pretty impressive to me at least.
No, for sure. And
Yeah.
we actually were touching on it off air before we got on here, and it was we were talking about one of the early events that I remember you being at for the indoor karting stuff, which is how I first met you. Mm-hmm. And it was you were trying to do a live cam deal for the 12 Hours of Dromo.
Yeah.
And hampered mostly by the phenomenal internet that there was at the time.
It was pretty weak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where you you got the camera and you can't see, there's no cameras here, but it was like
It was one that was clipped. It was clipped on top of the front of the eye.
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah, and it was like super slow, sketchy, and I was literally trying to do play-by-play for the whole thing to 12 hours too.
The same camera that I caught Bigfoot with too. It's just
That's it.
super
That
big
one shot.
yeah, because you'd see somebody go by and like, is that another person? No, that's actually the next lap. That's how
It was
far
bad.
behind. Yeah,
And I was doing updates in the forums. I was like updating everybody in the forums.
Right.
That was fun. IndoorKartingNews.com.
yeah. How did you get? I mean, maybe it's a natural progression, but what made you decide to even cover indoor karting? And I mean, to be honest with you, ended up kind of legitimizing some of it for a lot of us that were running. But what made you decide to go down that path?
Obviously I had ekartingnews.com. And then I had the website. That was that old PHP website. And we essentially just copied it over and turned it into eFormulaCarNews.com. So I had that as well. Well, I had a guy working full-time for me, Al Craighead, who has since passed away. And he worked for my Formula Car magazine as well. And I said to myself, I need some more revenue to pay this guy more money. And I just remember looking around like, this could be a cool deal. Like, I think I don't know if I went to a couple indoor kart tracks or something. I'm like, we need a website for indoor karting too, because I thought it was going to help kind of feed people to e-karting news. And so we started covering all the leagues, right? And I think I had at one point we had 10 tracks on. I covered all their leagues, and we had the driver rankings and everything. And I think it was $300 a month. So I was pulling in $3,000 a month on the website, and that helped pay Craighead's salary. But we were everywhere we went, we were testing. We were doing indoor kart. We were in Florida, Texas, wherever. We just drove every track we could. And then we got to know a lot of great people. And it did legitimize it, because I was at these races, and man, like the U.S. Indoor Karting Championships, it's one of the most badass races I've ever been to, to be honest. I just thought it was such a cool deal, because kart drivers having to jump in different karts every session. If they didn't like the kart they had, they could pull it in and get out of it, hop in a different one. And we covered the whole thing. We had driver rankings, and people would be pissed off at me because of my driver rankings. They didn't like it and swear at me, and I didn't care.
Can't please everybody.
Yeah, that's very true.
Well, and it was basically, I mean, like you said, not only did you kind of copy paste the for the website, eKarting is over.
Yep.
A lot of the same stuff came across. So, like in the old rate, do you still build what? Yeah, before I get into that, do you still build the rankings basically the same formulas? Like, these events have got a little bit more. And then
exactly that, yeah.
So basically what it was, like your Super Nats would be level 10.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then let's say you got a big Pro Tour or whatever, that's going to be a 9.
9.5.
And then 9.5, okay. And then a very, very solid regionals, maybe an 8.
Club race is going to go lower.
And
7 or whatever.
Okay.
On the way down.
Exactly.
And then what we do in the ranks, so every race gets a base ranking. Then there's also 2 full points that can be added on. One is if you have a full field. So if it's 40 or more karts, that's 1 point, like one extra ranking point. If there's only 20 karts, it's 0.5. So it's so like if you're beating 20 people as opposed to beating 40, it's going to be worth more. And then the final ranking point is how many people are in the top 50 that are in that race.
Yeah, so kind of the quality of the field.
So the quality, so it's the field size and field quality, and then it's 100 points for a win and on down, and times by the deal by the rank.
And
I love that.
Yeah, and like it's still around with the driver ranking and stuff like that. With only 2 categories now, I believe. It's just shifter and tag. And you guys, excuse me, you don't differentiate between the classes.
No,
it's tag senior and then just shift.
Whatever, just shifter. Exactly.
Which in theory, though, I mean, if you're talking about the ranking drivers, if you're in pro shifter, you're going to be going against better drivers.
Pro 1 and Pro 2, Pro 1 and Pro 2 is a little different. So I think a Pro Tour race, it's 9.5 for Pro 1, 9 for Pro 2. So Pro 2 doesn't quite, because you don't get, if you win Pro 1 and win Pro 2, you don't get the same amount of points.
Right. You're not beating the top guys.
Exactly.
Well, maybe in the overall on track, but you're not getting the actual class deal. Anyway, going back to the indoor stuff, what was interesting about that is you basically copy-pasted that. So your United States Indoor Karting Championship, the USIKC, our national championship, would be like a 10 or whatever. But that was like one of the only times you got a chance to race everybody, with the exception of an endurance race and stuff like that. And the endurance race is
12 hours of Victory Lane.
Yeah.
We did that one.
The 24-hour over there, the 12 hours of Dromo. And then every once in a while there'd be like a fairly big event. Like I put a couple on in the Northwest.
There'd
like
be one off or something.
Yeah, the Oregon Indoor Karting Challenge or this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what was interesting is where you'd have these pro tours or whatever, everybody kind of meet, and like the whole circus would kind of move to these things. It wouldn't happen except for once a year. So to this USIKC ended up being like that's the one.
And we had brought everybody doing it for it was in November or whatever. And I brought the RV there. I actually drove it, and we were there. I stayed in the RV and we covered the whole thing. It was a 2-day deal. It was like a 2-day deal or something like that. Wasn't there a 3-day deal?
Oh
yeah.
And I announced the whole thing. Now I don't think they had the announcement over the PA, but I was doing it. I was streaming the live. I gotta find that somewhere. But it was like a full year of us promoting all the race winners, driver of the month, and all the race wins. So it was just this year where we had promoted all these drivers from all over the country, and all of a sudden so many showed up at this one big race. It was just it was a really cool year, I think, for indoor karting.
Oh hell yeah, it was awesome because instead of like in the years prior, there was you maybe go to these things and then you'd find out who they are once you were there. But at this time, the USIKC, it's just like Go Racing Magazine when it was around, or your website where you'd be like reading about the people.
Knew all these guys.
Yeah, you're doing your research and find out. So you'd show up, and then he's doing the previews and all this other kinds of crap going on, and you're reading the preview, and it just adds the hype.
I remember that was what Cameron Jocelyn was saying when he first started going to the East Coast to race. He's like, I'm reading about, the top 5 over there versus top 5 here. He's like, it's pretty neat learning about these guys ahead of time.
Yeah, that's it.
So,
and for you to cover it like that, I mean, for sure, it added a whole nother level to it. And I was fortunate enough to get the W in 08.
That's it.
And then he actually came by the house we rented at the time, and we had some pizza and beers and bullshitted afterwards. And that was really when I got a chance to kind of get to know him. And then I got another really cool opportunity because
that's right. Yeah.
Indoor Karting News ended up sponsoring and doing a deal, I think, with CalSpeed with
Rob Nels.
Yeah. And that was for the Indoor Karting All Stars, or if you will, the Machismo deal.
It was a Machismo 12-hour at Vegas. We did because the Machismo was the Wednesday or the Thursday, I think, or something like that before the Supernats.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
I think it was after.
It might have been Friday night even. Like it was whatever it was. It was like overnight.
Yeah,
it was an overnight deal. It was an overnight deal. And Rob said, "Hey, listen, I want to give you. What if I give Indoor Karting News a seat?" What we ended up doing, we ended up picking an all-star team. So we picked a driver from Florida, one from I think Idaho or something like that. Mike. Truman Godfrey we picked him too, but he didn't run.
Yeah, you kind of had to earn your way in. Like, so you guys, they basically kind of came up with it. Well, I think Brad Packard came up with this idea of what everyone was going to do, but they kind of left it to the local areas. It was and you had this little runoff, if you will.
That's what it was.
And then if you won the runoff, you'd get this ticket, right?
Okay.
To be on the team. And to your point, it was Jean Hoy from Florida. I can't remember if she was in electric karts or not at the time. But
no, because she was running at the paved place. I can't remember, in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah,
Extreme Indoor Karting, and it was gas with pavement inside.
Yeah,
like actual
asphalt.
Yeah. It was a great track.
I
remember testing there. It was fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then we had Bednar from Pennsylvania.
That's right. Yeah, from Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, and then I can't remember the kid's name, but he was from the Midwest.
Yeah,
Kansas City at like Chad Arndt's place or whatever, like right around there.
That's right.
And then I was up north, and then it was supposed to be Truman.
Yeah, Truman was going to come, but he couldn't. We ended up with just 4. There was 5. We picked, and only 4. I don't know why he didn't show. He didn't come.
I can't remember. He missed out.
I got the suits all. I had all the suits all made up.
It was sick.
Yeah.
So you guys get the team together. You go to Vegas. How's it go?
Well, it was at so it's the Machismo's going on, right? And I had not really known about it prior to that, but because they'd only done it, they did in 08, and then this was in 2009 that we did it.
Yeah.
So we get there, and like you said, it's at night. So on I think it was Thursday night, we had practice in qualifying or some shit. And then Friday, we actually did the race. Well, I remember I can't remember on the practice day. We were pretty good or whatever. Rob was there. Like, Rob's obviously doing his shit all day, right? And he's going to kind of hang out and be a part of it. I can't remember. Did you get any laps in practice?
No, I didn't do practice. I came down for the race and did one stint for the race. At like 2 a.m. I woke up, went downstairs, and jumped in the car, did like 1 30-minute stint, went back to bed. Came back down before the finish.
Yeah, and so on the race, but the other thing is I think the race got shortened a little bit because we get the track when Scoos is done.
Right.
And it's Supernats. Yeah. So it turned out there was like a delay or something like that. So the whole thing got pushed back a little bit. And they're playing the hurry up or whatever. But yeah, so we ended up winning by a small margin.
Yeah.
Very, very large margin.
Very large margin, a couple laps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We killed it on the strategy. And obviously it was the All-Star. Great talent.
Yeah.
And
it was literally the All-Star indoor karting guys we were in the sport kart class.
Yeah.
Right. And man, it was just we were flipping fast.
It was the guys that knew what to do.
There was no weak link.
Yeah.
Like even I was turning decent laps when I in my 30. Otherwise, so those 4, my guy was fantastic.
Yeah.
Right.
It was cool.
There's some really cool pictures too. That Sean Buer is there doing some pictures.
Yeah, Tom McCall helped us out with some shots too.
Yeah, as well.
Oh,
and,
cool.
And we're all like kind of standing there trying to be all serious and shit. He's got his SKI suit. I think he had on.
I have
at the time.
I did. That's right.
I was
That's
bitching.
Right. Yeah.
So that was 2009. Got a chance to do that.
That was good times.
Yeah,
that was fun.
And then I went. Did you cover USIKC in 2009 as well?
I think I did.
Yeah,
I think I did. I'm pretty sure I did.
Oh yeah, no, you did because you and I were talking about it after because I did not win. I had to come from last.
Okay.
And I was pretty elbows up about it.
I can't remember who won.
John Cambrell was the first time John Cambrell won.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
And I missed it by like a 1.5 or something like that. Truman Godfrey got second.
Super cool race.
Yeah.
Super final.
Was this a F1 Race Factory?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I remember talking to Rob afterwards. Like I was pretty elbows up. Like I needed to go, right? And I'm like, man, I kind of feel like, and I was kind of getting like stink eye from pretty much everybody.
Right.
And because it was like 25 carts or something, right? And so on an indoor
you got
track,
a train to catch. You got to go.
And I go, yeah, man, I just don't think people were very. He goes, it's a freaking championship race, man. Got to go racing.
Who cares?
Yeah.
You didn't move anybody out of the way, so they got to get over it.
That's exactly
and
right.
I kind of, kept that, used that going forward.
If they want to try to get you back, they got to keep up with you.
Come on.
So,
it's a championship race. Like, suck it up.
Yeah.
So you're doing. You already bought IKN in 2004. Now we're talking about 2009-ish. You're doing that and IKN. When does IKN kind of start to turn down?
It only lasted like 2 years, I think. And the tracks just so that, we don't want to spend the money. We just don't want to spend the $300 a month anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, it was the same thing. Like I ended up managing a place in 2009 when I came down to it. And it was pulling teeth to try to get it done then. And then 2000.
It's a tough sell, to be honest, in advertising to spend $300 a month on your league. But I was just trying to promote to them. Guys were coming in and they were practicing. All coming to practice to be part of the league and just promoting the league. Yeah. So
the biggest challenge was that because of the lack of a national anything going on at the local place.
Yeah.
It's like, the upside's a little bit tougher versus ECAN where it makes a hell of a lot more sense because there's actual purchasing and things like that happen nationally.
100%.
But I think it was around 2010. I don't remember it being around a whole hell of a lot after 11.
Yeah, I think it was only maybe 3 years, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
I think it was short-lived. It was fun while it lasted. Let's put it that way.
Well, and to be fair, that's kind of indoor karting in general.
Yeah.
Like, it was freaking heyday for about 3, 4, 5 years. The latter part being those heyday years, and then even like the leagues and stuff like that kind of tapered off. The big events kind of fell off. Yeah. But that's the indoor karting stuff. On all of the different coverage and different things that you do, before we start getting into like the really modern stuff, what were some of the bigger challenges trying to get the coverage that you like, getting the content? Because there's still just you and David and whatnot. So what's the challenge actually getting stuff to put on the bloody thing?
Well, that was interesting because all the different stuff that we did, it seemed to be like there was lots of content. We were all over it. We were writing different articles, and Tim Blaney worked for me at that point as well in the late 2000s. At the end of the run was Shifter Kart Illustrated, which became Super Kart Illustrated. We started covering more than just shifter karts, and it felt like there was always content. There was always something we could cover, right? We did the interviews. We did a lot of different interviews, and a lot of people had more stuff to present to us. I don't think there was really any struggle to come up with content because there was always something to talk about. I think, and to be honest, it was new. We would have one new story a day. That's how we did it. At least one new story a day. And now sometimes it's 4. Like literally, sometimes we're putting 2, 3, 4 pieces of content out a day, right? Plus the interviews and all the stuff that we do right now. I think maybe there was less expectation because a lot back then we had one piece of news which was good, and the forums were flipping rocking.
Oh man.
Everybody's on the forums all day long. That's like the forums were. It was almost a full-time job to moderate the forums. We don't have the forum traffic. It's just nothing these days.
Everybody's on social media.
Everybody's on Facebook and social media, right?
And all that entire time, you're not doing event coverage yet? You're not like on site as much?
No, the minute I started up, that was the thing I did. The minute we got e-karting news, and even the guys before us, they were doing it as well. But we were literally immediately doing it. We were doing podcasts every show, all our play-by-play. Dave would record the play-by-play. Like our first race, the first Super Nats we did, the day when he was with us, and that was 2004, at Sam Boyd Stadium, we did full like trackside coverage. We were in Ron Joint's Decal Works trailer on his internet, and we were covering session by session.
Was that the first one?
Yeah. I don't know that because there was no social, we weren't doing like the top 10s on Facebook and stuff because that just wasn't around.
That was the first play-by-play? That was actually... Not just local.
No, actually, no. That was it wasn't live. The first, I think, I want to say the first live one we did, I think, was from the Rio.
So 8?
Was it maybe 08? No,
is that when Rio started?
We did it in 2 and 3, and then went back. We were gone. 3, 2 and 3, and then 4, 5, 6. I think over at Sam Boyd. So it would have been 7 or 8, somewhere around there. I wanted to get internet, right? Because there was no internet cards at this point, right? So I got a hold of the Rio. What's it going to cost me to get a T1 internet line out to the track? I'll be right down here, not too far. $17,000. That's what they wanted for a T1 line.
Yeah.
So
you didn't do it?
No, I did. No, I didn't do that. No, didn't do the Parma language. Didn't do that. I did some research online, and I literally got, if there's like a disaster kind of thing, it's a drop-in, like fly-in or drop-in satellite. I literally dropped a satellite behind our deal, pressed the button, and it came up, like turned up and open.
Oh man,
it's a sci-fi show over here.
Don't stand in front of this part here. I had to put cones up. It was $2,500 I paid to get the internet.
That beats 17,000.
It does, but it was like now it cost me what, $85 a month for my card.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It was literally $2,500. We were on top of a tiny, like I want to say, 15-foot Oakley trailer. In the top there, and Cole and I were just going to town on that deal.
What year is that you're doing the satellite deal? Is that when you were at Rio? The first time?
It was the second. Well, the Rio, the first one Rio was 2002 and 2003.
Sorry,
not then. It was the second Rio, so it might have been 2008. Cole would be better on this stuff. I probably can't remember.
And then 9 was 13. Supernats 13 when Michael was there, I think, because I remember it was so bitching. We had the Machismo going on, right?
Right.
But we're done and dusted. I think it might have been Saturday night, the race, because the next morning we stuck around and we watched
That's a possibility.
Supernats, and Mikey's there and the whole bit, and they had there was a lot of people going there. I'm not sure if you got a chance to see it. There's the railroad tracks.
They were on top
in the back, and we were on top of the wall.
The wall.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I remember that sitting on top of the wall.
Yeah, it was bitching.
It was wild.
That was pretty good.
That was wild. And then 2010, the Pro Moto Tour started, and we've done live coverage of every Pro Moto Tour race. Or Pro Tour race now. Not Pro Moto was in the old days, but SCUSA Pro Tour started in 2010. We did live coverage of all those.
So you started the actual like play-by-play live, so I could listen into it kind of scenario. Started with 2008-ish. You were thinking with that satellite deal at Supernats.
Yeah.
And then you did Supernats only again in 2009.
Yeah, exactly that. And then the whole Pro Tour after that. And the year that Schumacher was there, I want to say the one day we had something like 35,000 people listening.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Right now our numbers are more like 8,000-9,000 for a Super Nats deal. But yeah, it was, of course, now they're streaming live.
Yeah.
Streaming live. We get even more coverage there. But yeah, I think there was like $30,000 or something like that when Michael was.
Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
And it's not like he was the only F1 guy to grace the friggin' Super Nats.
There was 2 other guys there.
Yeah.
Jaime Aglusara was there, and
Max wasn't there yet.
No, Max wasn't there yet. Who was the other one?
Oh, you know who might have been there? Not an F1 guy, but Danny Weldon might have been there.
Oh, Weldon for sure was there.
Yeah. I was going to say, I mean,
there's some IndyCar.
Quite a few IndyCar guys go to that thing.
Yeah, Bourdais ran. Jamie McMurray ran a number of times.
That's right.
Oh, cool.
As well.
Yeah, and Tag Senior.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Going back to when you first bought IKN, did you kind of feel like it was a big gamble, or you feel pretty confident going into that?
I won't even tell you how much I paid for it because I paid a lot of money for it. A lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Just paid it off last year.
I paid it off in a year. Oh, I did a deal with them where it was kind of half the revenue. Whatever my revenue was, I would give them half the revenue, right? I was super confident with it because one of the things about it was it really just plugged right into my business. I already had all the core competencies. I already had somebody running all the books. I had the editorial. All I had to do was hire David to be the manager, whereas they had 3 people. One was tech, one was trying to do the sales, one was trying to do the articles. I already had everybody in place.
Well, I guess you're already doing all that crap with the magazines, so now you're just trying to put it on the internet.
It became I was able to change the magazine more into like race coverage, but also more stories and stuff because it didn't need to be immediate because we had immediate coverage. That was the thing about the magazine. A news story would break and literally it would take a month and a half for it to get on somebody's coffee table,
right?
Every other bathrooms. We know that everybody had the magazine in the toilet. That's
absolutely, yeah.
I never wrote an article that was longer than the average crap, right? Like it's you want to be able to read a full article while you're in it.
David, now trim it down, baby.
Trim that baby down. From the very beginning when it came to us, I went, "This is perfect.
Nice.
Like I'm going to rock this." And literally, I tripled their revenue in less than 10 months.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Did you know about eKarting News prior to that? And it was like, damn, it's not available kind of thing?
No. To be honest, Glenn Holland, who owned it first, I was working very closely with Jim Early in the Superkarts USA Pro Moto Tour that year, and I think it was 2002. They showed up at the World Finals at Oklahoma, and I was super nice to the guy because I was doing PR for SCUSA at the same time. I'm like, come on in, guys, this is awesome. Like, I wasn't thinking about a daily updated website. I had a website already that had some stuff on it, with page for back issues, and we put some news up a little bit, but I built it in some crappy program that I bought that sucked. And remember, the internet was so slow back then too, right? It just wasn't something I really worried about.
Click, go make a sandwich, come back.
So bad, right?
You had time to read that article on the toilet, though.
Exactly.
So there you go.
So it really wasn't when they first came out. I'm like, well, that's a pretty cool idea. The forums are really cool. I wish I had the forums. And then when they came to me, like, we just can't do this. We're already breaking down a little bit as a team. And Jeff Franz went off to a different direction, started his own magazine, Kart Sport. So the guys were like, we just want to get out. And yeah, I paid way too much for it. I think probably now I kind of gasp at how much I actually paid them for it. But it was obviously a success story.
Yeah,
I paid it off by the end of the year
for sure.
It was going to be half. So it was a deal where it was half the revenue. If it went over, they got more. I paid them a little bit more. But if it wasn't, I had to pay the lump sum at the end. I actually paid them more than the actual cost was on the contract, which is a good thing.
It freaking worked out.
And then away we went. It's been 16 years. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
It's nuts.
That is freaking awesome.
Nuts. It's crazy.
Now that you're doing you're doing obviously the event coverage and stuff like that, and you're on the mic. It's a little bit different. Obviously, now that David, he's able to be your right-hand guy at the track and stuff like that. When you're doing the on the mic coverage, are you really able to lend yourself a bunch to writing the stories and stuff like that? I mean, I know that when I'm watching the races as an official, because I write our reports and crap.
Yeah.
I'm able to kind of think back and remember a decent amount of stuff. I use my laps to kind of fill in some holes. I was way better at that about 10, 15 years ago. Do you find yourself?
That's so totally true. When I had the magazine, right? SCUSA the Pro Tour only had 4 classes. So it wasn't 10 classes, right? They had S1, S2, 80 senior, and 80 junior. That's all we had for a while. I would literally do a race, take all the pictures, and come back and then write it from my memory. I would remember exactly what happened in the entire weekend. Was able to write it down. It was easy. Not so much right now. But to be honest, David writes a vast majority and usually writes all the reports. And this is the thing about Cole. People don't realize that. We'll wrap up a day, unpack, whatever, get everything done, go for dinner, and then he's literally, I'm ready to pass out because I'm tired from talking all day long. He literally will sit up till 2 a.m. sometimes writing the article.
Wow.
Like the guy's a trooper, man. There's no doubt about it. There are times if I'm feeling nice and not being an asshole, I'll be like, do you want me to write the intro? I will write a couple of classes. Like, no, I got it. I go,
here's the headline.
I'll write
exactly.
A lot of times I'll write the intro, I'll write the closing, and I'll pick a couple classes for him. Like I'll do mini or micro or something like that. I'll do something just to get some stuff in for it.
Right.
But normally it's just David, to be honest.
Yeah,
I do all the heavy lifting during the day. That's what I pay him for God's sake.
Yeah. Is there a favorite part right now? I mean, with all the different, and now obviously you're doing more podcasting and all kinds of internet stuff. You guys certainly have done a hell of a job with the COVID stuff and being able to stay fresh and keep things rolling. Now that you've added that whole thing, is there a particular part of it that you enjoy more than others?
I don't know to tell you. Really, I just love trackside play-by-play. When I'm doing trackside play-by-play, I don't care if it's a karting event or road to Indy or if I'm pit lane for IndyCar. I just love it. That part I really, really love. I'm having fun with the interviews, too. I think the face-to-face interviews are awesome.
Yeah.
The one thing I love about what I do, of course, I got into the announcing side, right? And I was announcing, like, literally Scusa said, hey, we need an announcer, start announcing for us. So I've done every Supernats.
So is that how it started?
Yeah, really. I was at when I first started the magazine, I was at the track, actually before I started the magazine, because I wasn't the primary announcer at the very first race. I only announced a couple classes. I helped out with some stuff there because and then 98 on. So the first one I only did a little bit of it. But once I started the magazine and got with Jim Murley, and it was like, hey, listen, I want you to be the announcer. Because I was announcing some races up in Canada. I'm like, all right, I'm into this. I'll do that for sure. And away I went from there and started announcing all the races.
How'd you get what was the first announcing gig, and how'd you get into it?
Honestly, I think I announced one of our club races because they asked me to. The Oktoberfest Grand Prix was our final race at the Waterloo Regional Kart Club. I just picked up. It was literally like a microphone you'd have in a school, like one of those. That's what I used. And then I did our big race. I think it was like 1996. It was called the OKRA Grand Nationals. That was the big Ontario Kart Racing Association big race up at Shannonville. Everybody went to that race, and the guy that usually announced didn't know anybody's names. Like he would literally butcher everybody's name. He was so bad at it. Roy Bryden. Amazing guy for the sport, one of the builders of Ontario karting for sure. And I was covering all the races, so I knew how to pronounce everybody's name. He's like, "How do you get up there and do it?" I'm like, "All right." I didn't get paid. I just went up and started announcing, and it just started kind of steamrolled from there. And then Murley, it would help me get to the races. I would come to the races. He would pay me to announce a little bit. He paid me for me to get to the races, which allowed me to then be there for the magazine, right? So it kept my costs covered down.
Right, yeah,
Nice.
You get a little bit of help to get there in the first place.
Exactly, yeah.
On the front end, and on the back end, you get the magazine and that kinds of crap.
And it was, remember, the magazine was very Scusa when it first started, right? Because it was Shifter Kart Illustrated, and that's what they did. And Jim bought a subscription for every one of the members, the SCUSA members.
Oh, wow.
For the first 5 years. Yeah, and
Wow.
it kept going for many, many years. Probably the entire time.
Oh,
it was
cool.
The members got a subscription to the magazine as well.
But then
I was doing all the karting races, and I don't know how it happened. Somebody said, hey, I want you to come down and do this race at Sebring, this USF 2000 race. I know all the kids. Literally. Travis Irving was one of the drivers. He was racing for Bobby Orgel's team at that point.
Man.
I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. So I came down, and it was when I started Formula Car Magazine. So I had the Formula Car Magazine, so the guy's like, I want you to come and announce. I've heard you're pretty good at it. So I started announcing, and then I just started doing more Formula Car races. And then when the Road to Indy started in 2010, they're like, we want you to be our announcer.
You've been doing it since 2010 over there?
Road to Indy? Yeah, 2010.
Oh, wow. I didn't think it was that long.
Yeah, Sage
Man.
Karam, first year. Sage Karam,
Oh,
Zach
cool.
Veach, and yeah. So it was, USF 2000. Well, then Dane Anderson bought Star Mazda. I get a phone call. Oh, by the way, Rob, you're announcing Star Mazda, which we're gonna call it Pro Mazda. You're gonna announce Pro Mazda as well. Whatever you say, Dan, I'm in. Then they got Indy Lights. Oh, by the way, you're gonna be doing Indy Lights as well. I'm in. Count me in.
That's
and
awesome.
then just being at the track for the Indy Lights races, IndyCar Radio said, hey, you're already here working with us for Indy Lights. How about you do some pit lane work for IndyCar?
Man.
All right. So that's the thing I love about what I do. For me, my unique thing, and I'm so privileged. I'm the only one that does it. I'm at a karting event one week, then I'm on the road to Indy, and then I'm IndyCar. It's literally like somebody covered hockey or baseball and doing Little League, doing single A, double A, and triple A, and doing Major League Baseball in the span of 2 or 3 weeks, right?
And literally following the road.
I'm part of the road to Indy. That's
Yeah.
John Doonan from Moss always said that the road to Indy wasn't just for drivers; it's for our announcers as well, right?
That's
So
cool.
literally, and the beauty of it is that like sooner or later, I'm like we talked about before we started. Sooner or later, I'm going to interview a karting kid that I interviewed after a cadet win, after he or she has won the Indianapolis 500. That's crazy.
It's going to be awesome.
That's going to be awesome. I love that. I love that one weekend I'm calling a go-kart race, and the next weekend I'm talking to Scott Dixon in Victory Lane. That's awesome. That's the shit.
That's freaking sweet.
Right.
So for the IndyCar stuff, you kind of, like you mentioned, you've done the ladder program at being able to work your way up as an announcer. Was there one series that you had more fun with over the other for the car stuff?
Well, it's not really, because it's all a ladder, right? It ends up being the same kids going up, right? So it's all kind of one deal, and it's all really on a trackside weekend. It's USF 2000, Indy Pro, and Indy Lights. So really, it's a progression. Everything's just a bit faster. It's all exactly. I say it all the same way. It's all in the same paddock. It's not like they're a separate series. Really, the Road to Indy is a lot of fun to watch, because you get to see these kids. They come in full of piss and vinegar. They all think they're going to win, right? They think they're going to come out of the gate and win their first couple of races. And I keep telling them, You're a year behind the guy you're battling it. The guy's already got a full season in it. It's so much. You'll see all the young guys start getting better midway through the season, which is usually end of June at Road America. one of the rookie kids will start stepping up on the podium, could even get a race win. But at the start, they struggle a bit because they get so mad. I can beat that guy in karting. Yeah, but he's got a full year on you in these cars. And these cars, a full year experience is ridiculously big. Christian Brooks is a perfect example. It took him all year to win that first race at the end of the season.
Right.
He's going to turn around and come out of the gate in USF 2000 next year and be the primary championship contender. Mm-hmm. And the line I always say is, because they get frustrated, I told this to Christian, I've told it to many people, I said, do you think the 2021 Christian Brooks could beat the 2020 Christian Brooks? And he goes, 100%. Yeah, me next year is going to kick my ass this year. I go, that's everybody you're racing against right now. Christian Rasmussen, who won the championship, already is the 2021 Christian Brooks because he already has that full year. Right? So to watch the development of these kids from 14, 15, 16 to when they get into Indy Lights, they're just different women, men and women. It's amazing to watch.
Well, and it's certainly when you're going from karting to cars. It's not the same as when you go from juniors to seniors. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit more power, maybe the tire changed or whatever. It's still a go-kart. This is
true.
It's a go-kart to a freaking car.
Yeah, and the junior's almost as fast as the senior and sometimes even faster anyways with the weight, right?
Yeah, so I could see, cadet to junior. Yeah. All right, you got to learn some stuff there. It's now a full-size car.
Exactly.
But it's not apples to apples.
No.
You go from a kart to a car. I mean, shit, man, when I'm doing coaching with car guys right now, and I'll go back to like fundamentals and stuff like that, the fundamental stuff, like vision and that kinds of that carries. But you weight transfer and now it's not on X. You get into suspension, like all kinds of crap to pick up and learn.
And think about the three levels too, right? So it's USF 2000 at 170 horsepower, Indy Pro at 270 horsepower, more aerodynamics, bigger brakes, more tires, then 450 horsepower in the lights car. And at Road America, I want to say USF 2000 is base lap time. Indy Pro's like 8 seconds faster at Road America, and then another 8 seconds or more for Indy Lights.
In Road America, too, which is
4 mile track, but it's fast. Like
fast.
That. It's unbelievably fast. Wow. The long straightaway there is crazy, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot to learn all the way up the levels.
Yeah. And you brought it up there, and I didn't even mention it. Downforce.
Oh, right.
That's something you get to learn in karts.
That's it. No, not at all, right?
Man.
And it's totally different, right? It's so different. Yeah. It takes a while.
Some of the kids are like, "What are you talking about? I got the cool hot dog fairing, so I got the downforce going."
I bought speed with that.
Not at all, right?
Oh man,
I love it.
Have you gotten a chance to do much car racing yourself or kart racing?
When I had the Formula Car magazine, I did a little bit. I got a chance to drive a Formula First a couple of times.
Formula First.
It's a Formula V.
Okay.
A 1200cc V. It's actually the 1600cc V with disc brakes. It's more of a regional Formula V series that some guys that try to build a better V to a certain extent in the Midwest. I did a project Formula V, so we actually built one, did a whole project deal.
Oh, I think I remember that.
And I raced that 5 or 6 times. I think Formula V is a ton of fun. It's only got 65 or 67 horsepower or something like that.
Right.
It's like driving a Briggs, right? But a Formula car. Mm-hmm. It's just a ton of fun. I had a stock car for a bit that I raced, I think, 3 times because I wanted to race a car when I wasn't at the kart track, right? And there were some weekends, there was a couple series that I tried to get cars for, and I had no time. Yeah. I eventually just sold everything, and it wasn't going to work. Like literally, my best bet is to do fun arrive and drives in the karting world.
Right.
Whether it's the Margay Ignite Challenge or whatever.
I was about to say, you've definitely had a chance to do a lot of those.
Oh, I love it. And I've known the Margay guys forever, right? My first 2-cycle was a Margay Bravo 1 back in 1997. So I've known Keith Freeber, and I consider those guys like family. And the Ignite program, I think, is just such a fantastic program, especially for a guy like me who just wants to come in and race. Mm-hmm. Battle the Brickyard, Rock Island, Quincy, the races that they put on. It's a great kart, man. And just hop in it, and everybody's got the same equipment.
Yeah,
which makes me, then you're just racing each other. It's fun.
So with the car stuff, it's you didn't have the time. And obviously the
and
prep
manpower.
And stuff like that.
Exactly. When I had the stock car, man, I was out there so many nights just getting. I bought a used car that I rebuilt a little bit, and it's a lot of work. Like it literally, hopping into the car, scaling the thing. I was by myself scaling it. Literally I built something so the scales would be up where I could see them, and then you're changing shocks, and it just.
You're too exhausted to get in the car at one point.
And I'd already worked 12 hours that day to get on it. So I did it a little bit.
Street stock?
It was actually called a Pro Challenge car. So it's kind of like a little bit like a legend car. Mm-hmm. It's a 3/4 scale late model. Really cool car with a Kawasaki, I think 1100.
Oh, nice.
It hauled ass. Like nice. on a third mile track, third mile track, we'd be maybe a second off of a super late model. It's that fast. It's light, right? It only weighed 1,100 pounds or something like that.
Yeah.
It was fast. Screamed. God, it was loud. It was fun. I enjoyed that.
Have you thought about I mean, obviously the time is the issue, and obviously you got oodles of time these days.
All that extra time.
But have you thought about maybe getting back into that kind of stuff at any point?
Honestly, yeah. To be honest, I would probably get a Formula V, only because it's cheap. I don't make a lot of dough doing what I do. I don't have a lot of cash to buy something else, and a Formula V is pretty affordable and it's fun. It's a great community, and it's like Briggs racing, and you can race. Every time it's going to be the second. I think this year's the second year. The SCCA runoffs is at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And I was like, you know what? I would like to race here. I think that'd be cool. I would almost do an arrive and drive in a Formula V just to be able to race.
How bitchin' would that be, though? You got the guy who's doing the pit reporter deal, but you do the Battle of the Brickyard. So you've been there in the kart,
right, yeah.
And then it's a different course, mind you. Obviously,
but be on both sides of it. Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool. That'd be a cool little like a montage is the wrong word, but like this thing where you kind of go, here's the cart, here's the car. And
I will say this, I've worked the last 5 Indy 500s with IndyCar Radio. To be there on the track at the karting deal too, even though I know it's only some of the road course, we did the lap around. It was just pretty surreal to be actually somebody who has actually raced within the walls, right? Yeah. I didn't run the big track, didn't run the full sprint track or road course, but I got a chance to race there as a karter. I think everybody felt that way.
Yeah,
but the fact that I've done the IndyCar Radio stuff too, I think is wild. It's awesome.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
Going back to that IndyCar Radio real quick, you kind of alluded to it with some of like the morning coffee and stuff like that you'd written about Supernats and how it compares to Indy. How do you put that in words, really? Like, because I know how it felt when I actually put it on somebody else's post. They talked about miss being there. I think it was Casey Cook had a video. And it was from
Supernats.
Yeah, about Supernats, and it's looking down on it, right? And I remember last year, and actually as a spectator as well, but even last year as a driver, I wake up, I'm in the tower, and I look out. The very first thing is you walk straight over to the window. Well, I'm in the afternoon group, so there's already stuff going on.
Yeah.
And you look down there and you see cars going, and your face just starts lighting up and smiling. You're like, nice. And then it happens again when you get over to the elevator, and you look out the window while you're waiting for the elevator to come up, and you're like, I'm going to be there in a second.
Nice.
And then you get down, and when you finally get out the doors, and you hear it, and you smell it, and like, it's just, it just permeates the area. I have never been to Indy during the 500, so I have no idea. But you just see the spectacle on the TV and hear it in the voices of the people there. And
it's unbelievable. Well, first go to the Supernats, right? Same thing. My Supernats for me starts the minute I say "Welcome to Super Sunday." When I scream that out, then I'm right, like because we're right into it, right? That's I love that because the build up, and I know people have told me this racers they're just waiting for me to say that, right? That's when it all starts, right? I started that a long time ago, and away we went. Being at the 500 is the craziest thing. We literally, you got to go in early, number one, because traffic's so bad, right? You can't, if you try to roll in, like we don't go live on the air until I think 11:30 or something, and then it's a lot of pre-roll stuff before we do it. You can't roll at 10 because you'd be in traffic for 2 hours. I literally leave the hotel at 4 o'clock in the morning, or 4:30 in the morning, or 5. But when you get there, it's because, of course, it's dark. It's pitch black dark when you get there, right? Only the pagoda's lit up, which is flipping awesome. Then the cannon goes off at 6 o'clock, and literally you can start to feel the excitement start to build, right? More people start coming in, things start walking around, then the cars start getting pushed out. Like literally, you can just feel it kind of get bigger and bigger. For me, when I say "Welcome to Super Sunday," that's one thing. When I do my what's called a pit sweep, that really kind of fires things up for us because we do some taped interviews before. Normally, I'll do a live interview with the winner of the Freedom 100 from Friday. Obviously, no Freedom this year, so I won't be doing that. But I did Oliver Askew. We did the interview with Oliver on Sunday, the year he won, and I didn't tell him until afterwards that the IndyCar Radio broadcast of the 500 gets 14 million listeners. I go, there's literally 14 million people listening. I told him that after. He's like, "Oh my God, I'm glad you didn't tell me that." So what happens is, once we get ready to go racing, we do a sweep around all 4 corner guys. So Mark Janes will make some comments. He goes to all the guys around. They toss to each other, come around the corner. It's really, it's like the way it's synchronized, right? It's like a ballet, the way we go back and forth. We're chatting each other's ear, but they go all around. Then we come down to the pits. So Mark then introduces the pit reporters, and we go through the pit sweep. Well, when we do the pit sweep, I always, because I want to be somewhere where my mic, I know my headset goes good, I always stand right under the podium. So there's the podium part there. I kind of stand right there. It's kind of calm. There's nobody around me to bump into me. And then you do your little 1-minute pit sweep of what you're going to follow, who's in your box, what your story you think is going to be. And at that point, you go on automatic.
Was it kind of tough to pick up on the program that they had, or was it easy to fall into. The IndyCar does it.
It's not super easy. It was they kind of take care of the rookies that come in because literally. There's nobody else with you. TV's got somebody holding the camera. They've got a spotter that listens to everything. We're by ourselves. We just do it all ourselves, right?
Right.
And the thing is that you're essentially you're talking on intercom. Like if you're a pit lane guy and you got a report, you got to call it in. I see Rob with Howden with a note, or Howden with whoever, Malukas or Askew or whatever, and then Mark will throw it down to you. But while you're doing an interview, they're talking in the intercom. They're talking back and forth. They're like Mark could be talking to somebody else.
Right.
I talk about Mark Janes, who's the voice of the 500. And it's in your ear, and you're literally trying to listen.
You're trying to focus on that.
Oh, it's so hard sometimes, right? And then if you screw up, then they start barking in your ear, like making fun of you while you're doing it, right? So it's pretty ruthless sometimes, right? Or Mark will just ask him about this, because it's topical. Ask him whatever. And so you're trying to listen, but you're trying to listen. It's hard. But once you get in the groove of it, it just happens, and you roll with it.
It's kind of like doing the officiating out here, where you're talking to one person, like whatever it is, and they're like, "Hey, Mike, you got a copy? Mike, I got the hold on,
radio silence, please."
Yeah, everybody, shut up.
Well, and it's like we just started training a few officials a few months ago, right? And they're like, "Man, you guys are just nonstop, but it's continuous, and everyone's on the same page of how it's working, right?"
Yeah,
so
once you get it rolling, it's not too big of a deal.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of especially the guy well, it's the same. So for the corner guys, they're calling it, and they'll talk about where they're going to drop. Like, so out of turn, guys, Nick Yeoman gets it coming here, and he'll drop it to Michael Young here, and Michael will drop it to Jake Query here, to Kristen Airy here. So they know, right? So it's just around, it's like synchronized. And it's the same with us in pit lane. So when we're doing a pit call, we don't know maybe something else will happen, and Mark will go, Rob, send it to Ryan Marine. And that's while you're talking. So you're trying to finish up your pit call, and you go over to Ryan. And so it's really that back and forth kind of, once you've worked together for more time, man, it starts getting so much easier. It just the flow's all there, right?
Yeah.
Once you get to know each other.
And controlled chaos.
It's controlled chaos. Never let them see you sweat. All the stuff that happens behind the scenes, nobody cares, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And the worst, and here's a story you'll love, because the worst one is we're always trying, because we got to get our commercial breaks in at the right time, right? And the commercial breaks will come, and you're like, okay, this feels pretty good. Race feels kind of calm. Mark goes to commercial break, and there's a wreck right there. Right. Or all of a sudden, we're told the leaders are going to pit in 5 laps, which means we've got 3. We'll get 2 commercials in. Commercial break. Then somebody, the minute we go to commercial break, someone comes to the pit lane, and the F-bombs are flying. Oh my God, I can't believe that.
And then, of course, for this viewer at home, it's the half screen, the commer's playing. You just get the little square.
That's right. Right.
Oh,
so
God.
Look at this shit coverage over here.
You guys suck. And then we'll just call it in. We'll do the updates. It is what it is, right? It's fluid.
Rob's walking by Pesky. You're really effing me on this thing, buddy.
Thanks, Raj.
When you bring it.
Nice.
Or literally, you'll ask one of the PR people, so when are you going to pit? Probably 3 laps. Okay, so you run down the other way, and all of a sudden the driver goes by you. You're literally hauling ass. Down to Rob with Joseph Newgarden. I'm almost there. You're running to try to get there.
Man.
I'm like 18 or 19,000 steps for sure. It's just running back and forth. It's crazy.
That's
Did they have
awesome.
you wearing the fire suit as well, or the?
We normally wear a fire suit. We didn't. We've been not wearing them for the last couple races this year. I don't know why. We wore it for the 500. We always wear it for the 500,
right?
But we didn't at the end of the season. It doesn't suck because they're so flipping hot. It's warm. Mm-hmm. I like wearing it because people know who you are when you're coming into do an interview.
Sure.
But I think I've been doing it long enough now. They kind of know who I am. It's the rookies that want to have the fire suit because you get a little more clout, right? You're not just some guy, grabbing the side of Chip Ganassi asking for an interview.
Piss off.
What do you want?
Kind of going back to the karting thing real quick. You talked about that when you'd first gone to it, and you said you fell in love with karting, right? Like, hey, I mean, how and why? Like, what? Yeah. Like, why did you go? This is the shit. This is what I want to be a part of.
Well, what it was is that like I said before, my dad was never a supporter of me going to race. So I didn't know that. I didn't think there was ever going to be an opportunity for me to race anything. I wasn't going to be able to afford a super late model or even a street stock. I didn't have a garage. I didn't have a big trailer. Literally, I borrowed my grandfather's pickup and put the cart in the back of the pickup truck when I first raced, right? And I didn't even have a rolling stand. I literally had it just like I would use like one of those, what do you call it? Those Black & Decker easy, the mates that I put on top of like a work mate. That's what I used.
Yeah.
I would put the cart down
or whatever.
I would push it back, push the cart up like I never even had a cart stand when I first started. But I remember getting on the track. I think we did like a rookie day or something, but I remember getting on the track in April, whenever it was, and I can't believe I'm actually racing. Like I wanted to race all my life, and literally I started in 95. I was 27. So I was like not like 16, 18. I was 27 when I first raced, and I remember just like I'm racing. This is the best.
Yeah.
I flipping love this.
Once you got past that, like I'm doing it. What keeps you rolling? What is it about karting that is just like that? You wake up in the morning, you're like, hell yeah, this is the business right here.
I like the speed for sure, and I like you're at one with it, right? I was a ski racer and a ski instructor as well, so it's the same kind of thing where it's all flow, but then you're in control of what you do in certain, like you can do big sweeping arcing turns, then you can do a bunch of short radius stuff. You own the mountain, right? You can kind of.
Billy Cleveland actually talked to us about that in his episode.
It's huge, right? And I raced in college downhill skiing. For me, it's I don't. It's so much about the community, the people, but also just to get a chance. Like I don't need to. If it was just the people, I wouldn't get a chance to race. But I always say this: I'll be sitting in the cart before a race, and I'm getting nervous, and I go, "Why the hell am I doing this? Like I could get hurt here right now. What am I?" And then the minute you pull in the scales, that was the best thing ever. Yeah. My God, I love it. Let me go again.
Why don't I do this more often?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I know. I think just because I've always loved racing, watching my dad, just being able to be behind the wheel and doing it. It's cool. It's fun. Like it's just like you guys all know this. You know when you hound somebody and make that perfect pass, it's just epic. There's nothing like it. There's nothing a feeling I've ever felt before than reeling someone in and making that pass and going for a race win, whatever it may be. Right? It's just nothing.
You get it done, you go, oh, that was good.
God, that was good.
Yeah.
That was really good. Yeah, it just feels good. And you go get the next guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And just the cool factor of go-karts. I'm sorry. I still think karting, I think if you look at the go-karts, it's one of the coolest things in the world.
Yeah.
I just think they look badass.
Is there certain races each year that you want to make sure that you do, or is there any that you haven't done that are like on the bucket list, if you will?
Honestly, I literally look at, once the schedule comes together, what I can do. Like, I've raced a lot of Rock Islands, which is surprising. I would look back, and I think I've raced at least 8 times at Rock Island in a time. And it's if somebody lets me announce it and race it. I really can't afford to go to races unless somebody has us, helps us get there.
Right.
With expenses or doing play-by-play. I want to do Quincy again. I did Quincy back in 1997. I really would like to do Quincy in the Park again. I won't be able to do it this year again because there's a conflict. I did Battle of the Brickyard. I won't be able to do that again this year, which sucks. I've always said I'd like to race the Supernets. Because I think I've been to every one of them, and I always said I'd like to maybe potentially race the Supernets sometime.
How the hell do you think you pull that off?
Well, I'd have to have a secondary announcer working with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I go back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
I finished 5th in the Canadian Grand Nationals the one year. I was with Kevin Monteith's team, and actually Kevin's mom, who's an incredible wrench. She's the one that pulled my cart back and forth. I mean, I would literally announce a race. From Masters came, I went and jumped in the seat, did my session, came back, over the scales. She took the cart back. We didn't do anything to the cart. We just took it back, and I sat back down and started announcing again. I literally just missed my session. So I probably could do it, but I don't know.
What class? Like if you let's say you had the choice of banging gears or
I'd love to bang gears if I could again. I'm just not. Really? I'm not in shape for it at all. I'm just not. I'm in the shape to run Briggs. I got a chance to run. Andy Saisman let me run that VLR up at
Sonoma, right?
Sonoma,
yeah, 100cc.
Dude, that was fun. There's power everywhere.
Yeah.
I know it's not the monster power, right? But there's power everywhere. Again, I had so much fun running.
It's not the old 100cc's where it doesn't get out of you got it right now.
It's there.
Well, and that's what him and I were saying about moving up from the Briggs to that. Where you're going fast enough, and you're going fast enough, you can hurt yourself.
Well,
Yeah.
There's plenty of racing going on too.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a little bit different racing too. I always say that about two sides, especially with shifter carts. Shifter carts compared to anything else, right? Shifter carts is more of a it's point and shoot, but it's also a lot of passing under braking, right? Which you maybe don't get as much in four cycle, which is really kind of momentum and getting inside someone and maybe give them a little side, whatever. I think as you get up a little higher, you can make more passes because you have to use the brakes.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
and I loved it, man. That VLR was fun to drive.
Yeah.
So maybe if there's a 100cc Masters game at Supernets, that would be the ticket.
I would think about that for sure. 100cc Masters, I would definitely think about that.
You
Tom
mentioned
Kutcher,
that
let's go.
Because I've run like at Rock Island. I ran shifters at Rock Island. I ran shifter Masters at Rock Island.
I was gonna say, how long did you do shifter for? Because you said you did it for Florida Winter Tour.
Yeah, I think I started in 2000, and I want to say I raced all the way to probably 2008, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
No, maybe it was because I ran a tag with Margay there. I think it might have been 2. I might have raced at least four times.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many races do you think you're going to be able to do, roughly, in the year? You
next year? Next year?
Yeah.
I'm going to aim for 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to aim for... and again, just because of the way COVID is, we're obviously going to still be in the lockdown, right?
Yeah.
When I do the SCUSA Winter Tour race, the Winter Series race, I can't go home because it's less than 2 weeks of quarantine to be down here for Challenge of the Americas.
Right.
So I'll come out to the RV. Well, the midweekend is the SoCal Adams Chill Race, the SoCal Chill.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
I may have to try to drive something there, right? So I'm going to try to jam some races in when I can, for sure.
Sweet.
I have Rock Island off this year, so I might go back to Rock Island again and run there. I'll do the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals. I also have the weekend off where CKNA goes to Shawano, Wisconsin.
Oh, I hear that's a blast.
Dude, it's like a roller
elevation.
It's
Yeah,
like a
really.
roller coaster. It's probably one of the best tracks in the country that we just don't go to, which is it's just because it's in Wisconsin. It's an awesome track.
Oh man,
dude, it's ridiculously awesome.
I remember not watching, but hearing races there for Stars.
Yeah, Stars Road Tracks Grand Nationals were there one year too.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Great, yeah, that one on the list.
Oh, dude,
there's so much up and down and off camera stuff.
Todd McCall's got shots where guys are coming up over top of one corner and there's literally one tire on the ground still because it's up and over top and then it sets back down.
Man.
Oh, and there's one corner. It's I call it the compression corner where it literally just shoots the guys out to the other side. It's flipping awesome.
That's badass.
It's a great track. So that's an open weekend. But my problem is everybody knows I'm from Canada, so I can only be down in the U.S. so much. Right? I can't be down for the entire year. I'm always right on the limit. I had to send a form in that says, that because I'm from Canada, so you can't be down here more than half the year.
Right.
Well,
and that's tough because the business is down here.
I got 25 races I'm already locked into, and because of COVID, I can't keep going home. So I'm going to be burning up set days I can be down here. I'm going to be burning those days up staying down here.
Is that getting any lenient?
No, there's no.
No, I mean as far as being down here, they're not.
I don't think so.
No.
I won't. I never push it. I always stay well enough below.
And it's gotten tougher now with for a good thing with the IndyCar deal. That just means you can do less.
Yep.
Kart races.
Yeah. Well, I'll do as many kart races as I can. So I don't think there's not one kart race that I was going to do that I won't do because of IndyCar, which I'm very lucky with.
Right.
There's no conflict with the SCUSA Pro Moto Tour or Pro Tour for IndyCar. No conflict with Staysman's deal. The only races were some of the one-off races. I can't do Quincy, and I was going to announce that with Randy Kugler and race myself at that one too. And I was going to do what's the other one? Oh, Battle of the Brickyard. I can't do again either. You guys should do Battle of the Brickyard.
I was going to ask. You talked about earlier being able to drive the track and stuff, but how was that track for Briggs? I mean, is
flat out,
flipping
awesome. It was awesome. Literally,
the numbers are always big. Every year.
Yeah, it was massive. Well, it's Indy, man. Everybody wants to go to it. It's a great layout. It's and it's super fast for the shifter guys too.
Really?
There's one corner right by the pit in or pit out, which is it's a right hand 90 degree, and it's bumpy, and it's people say it's probably one of the sketchiest corners in American karting, just because you're hauling so much mail into that. You're absolutely hauling. I don't think they lift. And you think the thing just skips and slides around the corner. We don't lift. We really only lift two places, I think, in the Briggs.
Any brakes at all?
Well, there's a hairpin. There's one full hairpin, and I think I was braking before. Some people I think were just getting off it, but I was braking going into the right hander before that. Then it's a little short down into a hairpin. Otherwise, you're flat all the way around. Man. Dude, it's awesome.
And I suppose
we did for half the weekend. Because it's Indy. We did 3 wide starts.
Oh man,
dude, it was wild.
That's awesome.
It was wild, and I'm pretty conservative. I'm not the guy that's going to dive into the wreck, and I'll kind of back out a little bit and get around the wreck. There's some guys that were just full send, and you're wrecking each other, and they're wondering why they're getting wrecked, right?
Yeah.
I literally went by. I can't remember what happened. I was in a practice session. I'm watching these guys literally drive into each other in the practice session. I'm laughing. There's 3 of them. They were chop blocking each other in the practice. What are you doing?
One of them's David.
Oh, no, David wasn't
trying to put dominance over some people.
Poor David. He's, you know what? And I'll say this on the podcast because he's faster than I am right now. There's no doubt about it. He is. He just can't finish races.
Oh, really?
He just struggles. Well, sometimes it's not his fault, but stuff happens
for one reason or another.
For one reason or another, and I always end up getting to the end.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's beatRobHowden at the end.
Yeah, hashtag beat. Well, yeah, you have to actually win the race or win the battle. It just doesn't happen. I feel bad for him. Literally, I feel bad. I start feeling bad for him because Dave's such a happy-go-lucky guy. But when I beat him, he's such a little whiny bitch. It's not even. It's so bad. He just grunting. Oh man. Oh. And if he beats me, I'd be happy. I'd be like, hey, high five, well done. Yeah. No, when he loses, wow, he's not happy at all.
Well, yeah, but you got the streak going, don't you? Yeah, it's been a few.
He's never ever beat me, ever. When he first started working for us, we always laugh about this because we would do indoor, even at Dromo. I have the sheets. I was always 0.2 of a second faster.
Oh, man.
Literally for 10 years, 0.2 faster everywhere we went. And then we did a
Dromo
test.
closes. He's like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
We drove the Margate Nights at Sonoma, like during lunch break, because they had a couple, and he was literally 2/10 faster than me. I just couldn't. He was 2/10 quicker than me, and he's literally almost 2/10 faster than me all the time now. He's pretty fast. You can see it at the Cup Karts North America race.
He's rolling.
Like he was top 10, and he was super fast at Brickyard too. And I qualified P2. I was strong in the Ignite class. He's always a bit faster. He literally has no luck.
During the the lunch break and you're in the Mario Kart, so like, yeah, sorry, Dave, it's not official timing.
Of course not.
Yeah, it doesn't
Somebody's
count.
stopwatch? That's bullshit. That's not real.
How much did you pay him?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see the electronics.
And actually, he did beat me. I think we jumped behind the wheel of Seisman's Burrell Rotax, and I want to say he went out first. And then I went out, and I was like a half second off, and he's gloating on the sidelines how much faster he is. And then I just kept getting faster, and then getting faster. And I can't within like a tenth of him, and I got too tired. And I'm like, I got to come in. I was just starting to get at it. But he was sweating on the sidelines for sure there. It's a good battle, man. It's fun, right?
Nice.
Oh, man.
People love it.
You get, I know at the Battle of Brickyard, you guys are on track at the same time.
We
right?
were, yeah.
But generally speaking, 2 different classes?
No, we usually run the same class.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I ran the Ignite race as well. I ran 3 races the year before because I had my vintage kart there as well. That was too much for me. So I ran the Ignite one as well. Dave just ran with the. Oh no, he ran his Yamaha.
Oh, that's right.
He won the
classes.
heat. He actually won his heat in his Yamaha. Beat Matt Dittmer. Then sucked in the main event. Couldn't finish it off. Couldn't do it.
God damn it,
Yeah.
David.
It looks like in the Briggs, though, you guys have qualified like pretty close to each
We're
other
pretty
every
close.
time.
We're pretty close. Yeah. And in the one race, I want to say my row didn't go. His row went, and I closed up. And you'll see he's got the video out there. A guy spins right in front of him. He's got to go this way. He gets taken out. I had to go to the grass to not hit the guy. So we both got screwed in that deal. But yeah, that's when he went to the very back. Oh. And so there was 60 something guys in our class or something like that.
Right.
So just took for him forever to get back up.
I wonder if he goes back through the entry list and looks to see how many likes Howden got versus him. Like, how many people were going for Howden on this beatRobHowden?
Probably true,
yeah. Because it was collusion is what I'm getting at.
Well, you've heard it before. All he ever talks about is who had the faster lap. Well, I had the faster lap. Nobody cares, David. I finished in front of you again.
It's brutal.
Poor guy.
You were talking about events you're going to be doing, stuff like that. Is there any tracks that you have not gone to or you'd want to get to on anything, whether it be karting or cars or otherwise?
No, most definitely. Again, we don't get the opportunity to go to I'd love to try NOLA Motorsports Park. I'd like to race.
Cool.
I'd love to race there. I've done races at Rudolph's track, Speed Sports Racing Park, but I've never been on it. Jake French tells me it's probably the most physical track he's ever been on.
You didn't get a chance to get. You were just there for the.
We didn't drive.
Oh man,
we didn't drive.
That's almost got to be a prerequisite, I think.
I think I should probably go a day early and
build it
drive
in the
every
contract.
Track. Yeah. I like that idea.
Like you get all these extra days, you're just lining up. You got to get burned anyway.
Because I had driven. Back in the day, we did tests. We did a lot of chassis tests with the magazine. I driven Moran. I drove at Moran. That was loved it. I think I've driven Santa Maria. I've driven Sonoma. I don't know what other track I've never been to that I haven't been on yet.
Have you been on Adams?
I've never been on Adams.
Oh.
Legendary track.
All the more reason to do Chill Challenge.
I got to do the Chill Challenge, I think.
Yeah.
The guy from Canada is going to be on it before we have, and we've been down.
Yeah.
We're like 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
We haven't been on it yet.
No.
I'd like to try that for sure.
And you got a chance to run out here at with Tracy in the 206.
I did try C. They've been awesome with me to come run some races. I did that. Again, I've never, because I just announced race, I've never raced Grand Junction. Well, that's a fantastic racetrack. I think that I would like to go back to again. I'd like to because that's a great track. I did get a chance to run, and I really enjoyed it. I ran the SEMA track, Sumas, the Valiantes track up in Washington. I had a lot of fun there.
Cool. I got a chance to do it just in one of the rental carts.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the rental cart had a governor on it.
Yeah,
so it was flat as B.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
no, I was in one of their X30s.
Okay.
And I ran the I ran a race. I ran the Masters race, and that was fun. Man,
nice.
I was sort of shape. I couldn't, literally was dying.
Busy.
It's busy.
It's a nonstop.
Really?
There's not really a straightaway at that place.
That's exactly right. Yeah, but it was fun. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
It flows good.
If it does, I think it does. And it looks like they're going to be building an extension, too.
I think that would be huge for them because it looks like passing would be a challenge at that particular joint. But I think they add that piece on that looks real good.
Another one that I think it's going to start coming into more talk is the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. It's a track in Cincinnati, just outside Cincinnati, that Sean Bailiff from Trinity Karting Group. He's kind of been the pro there when it was a member track. They've actually bought it. The family's bought it. Sean and the family have bought it. They've done a bunch of work to it already. They bought the land beside it. They're going to put an extension on that as well. It's going to be he's a pro. Sean's been around forever. Great family, great people. I think that's going to be a destination racetrack coming soon.
All right.
For sure.
Be keep an eye on that. That'd be pretty neat.
It'll be cool.
You see Cincinnati, so Ohio. So that's, again, it's going to be out that East Coast WKA route, that kind of thing.
USPKS potentially, that Stars Series, Janowski Stars Series maybe.
Right.
Cup Karts North America could go there too. It's going to be one people are going to look at, I think.
Okay.
Say, hey, I want to try that track.
Of all the tracks, we didn't, we lost it because of the COVID deal, but it's not on the schedule again for next year. Streets of Lancaster, and I luckily for me, I was able to win in the last year. Getting it in that atmosphere was super super cool. Probably the closest thing. Well, it's not like I get a chance to go to Pro Tour or nothing like that. I mean, but even here, the vibe at Pro Tour, you can just tell it's a bigger event. But the vibe at Streets of Lancaster. It's that extra, at night and shit like that.
Oh, yeah.
Is there... But you also got a chance to be at Modesto and some of these other kinds of stuff. What makes a street course a, quote, worthwhile street course? Because they're not all going to have that Lancaster kind of vibe, and they're not all going to race well. Like, I'll be honest with you, Streets of Lancaster is not exactly, oh, my God, this is a great street course.
Right.
But the vibe, and there is something different about it. So for you, having gotten a chance to do these kind of things, you can't just plop it into a street and call it a good street race. So what's that take?
You got to have bars. I'm not kidding. You got to have bars. So one of the best things about Lancaster is that corner, right at Ehrlich and the Boulevard. There's 3 or 4 bars right there. They put the grandstands up. It just people flock to it.
It's a spectator corner.
There needs to be something for people to come and want to do it. And they had the rental cart challenge as well. People came out to that. But literally on that Saturday night, they have all the fans are there to watch the main events for tag and pro shifter, and the shifter classes. And people are having cocktails. It's got to be that party atmosphere, right?
Have you seen any kind of? I mean, obviously, putting on it's a good show and stuff like that. If it makes business sense for the promoters, and obviously the place has to shut down and whatnot. How do you see the ability of karting in general being able to actually capitalize on that kind of stuff? I don't know. Is there a kart shop in Lancaster? I don't believe there's
I think Mike Manning karting up in Rosamond, probably Willow over at Willow.
Yeah, probably the closest.
Well, that's one thing that I never ever saw. And it really wasn't. There really isn't a Willow Kart Club right now, anyways. Really, right? They've had a couple of races there. I think had there been a kart club, it was close. If there was a really good kart club, they should have been there with a booth, right? Yeah, it's the chance to potentially introduce karting to people. Like, we show them this level and this cool factor of it, right? But we got to teach them, hey, that you can go come and do this too.
Right.
It's not just once a year here.
Exactly. And Modesto really wasn't in the place either, because Modesto wasn't really near any kart shops or kart tracks, right? Where can we do a street race where there's a track super close?
Is there anything in the country that pops out there? I mean, I don't know anything about Quincy. I don't know anything about these other things.
Not that I know of right now. Yeah, if they could do one somewhere in Indianapolis, maybe even down to Speedway, Indiana. I don't think they did a street course race in Speedway, Indiana, I think at one point. If they did one there, knowing that Whiteland Raceway Park is there and Newcastle's there, and there's a ton of karting businesses that could. The only problem is when you have a race, the karting business that should have a booth is racing.
Yeah.
So they're focused on racing as opposed to having the booth there to promote how to get in the car.
We hear that same thing when with all the teams or whatever, or shops, if you will, they're all at the Pro Tour. Like, this place can look like crickets. Yeah. Just because, and it was like, hey, I want to get into karting. Well, sorry to say. Yeah. There's no one to talk to right now.
Showed up on the one weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That is the challenge as well.
It is. I think it's more for us to get new people in. It's through sport karting, like you guys have, indoor karting, and having some kind of connection to indoor karting, and maybe leveraging social media. Like, that's one of the things we're trying to do in e-karting. There's a lot, right? I buy a little bit of marketing on Facebook to try to target indoor karting people so they can see some of the stuff that we're doing, so they can understand, hey, I just went indoor karting and loved it. Well, you can actually get a kart for not that much, right? Because you ask somebody about karting, number one, they don't know about it. Number two, they just immediately think it's going to be super expensive.
Right.
As opposed to telling me it's not really not that expensive.
Well, and then we actually get it all the time in the arrive and drive stuff here. Like, who's doing anything to get people into karting? Well, we get a ton of people into karting every year, right? Yeah. There's a ton of people that get into arrive and drive karting, which is the beginning rung, if you will. The number of people that go forward or go beyond that, it definitely depends on all kinds, and some of it's misconception. Mm-hmm. But like you said, how much is it going to cost or whatever, or just having that access to some of the teams and some of the different things.
Agreed.
And that's where the 206 is really good, but because it's such a great stepladder. Kind of carrying that over to in Canada, I know that four-stroke has been huge, the Honda thing for years, and now 206. Do they have arrive and drive programs as well? Like, what are they doing to get people into that same kind of deal?
They I think almost every track does right now. I know Hamilton has one, Goodwood, Mossport all have.
Cool.
Yeah, they all have their own. I know Goodwood has a full arrive and drive series. So does Hamilton. I don't know exactly what Mossport. I'm pretty sure they do. But most of the primary tracks, the Waterloo Regional Kart Club runs inside a stock car track in the middle of really nowhere, so it doesn't have anything like that. But Hamilton has a deal. You pay $150 for the membership. And I think it's called the Canadian Mini Indy or something like that. You go out and you run all these races on Wednesdays, and that's Trevor Wickens, right? Robbie's brother, and he runs Prime Power Team. So the series is right there. So they can have the series and they can promote the series there. And the same thing with DeLeo's track at Goodwood. They have their own arrive and drive sport kart series, and they take a lot of people out of that and move them, I think, into their outdoor stuff. And like you said, the transition from coming out of a rental cart into a 206 is just so easy.
Yeah.
I think the only things probably that we could probably help it with is if we had cart storage at the track, where somebody who doesn't have a trailer can roll up, maybe pull their cart out of a small shed or from up on top or whatever in a storage area, and go racing.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And actually, that's a prerequisite for a lot of the people that we had on the CSK racing team, and whatnot, that went from arrive and drive.
Yep.
Hell, some of them still do arrive and drive. They just do both. But it was, we got 10 to 15 hell, more than that.
I think we have
damn
actually
near
about 20 go-karts.
Yep. And they're all arrive and drive guys that have 206s as well. And they have a car.
Yep.
And they don't want to do the other shit.
Well, and it's funny, too, because I definitely think, especially after starting back in the KA this year, the 206, we can all agree it's such a good stepping stone, but for those person or, we have a few kids that we're talking to right now, Mike, that want to skip the 206 or get out of the 206 quickly and go to the KA, I'm like, one, it's that much bigger of a jump, going from the sport car to the KA, but you can learn about owning a cart, working on it in a 206, and it's not going to be as, I don't want to say involved, it's not going to be as stressful as it will trying to work on a
labor intensive, right?
Yeah. You can be able to take a little bit at a time and learn it as you can.
Yeah, like you said, it's not like you're doing you shouldn't be doing a lot of wrenching on that 206.
Right.
That's right. Well, one of the things too, when I was coming up through when I was starting as a journalist in Ontario, all our top drivers, DeLeo being one of them, Cole Pern, some of these guys, Giuliano Chioviti, all these, they would run both Honda, four-cycle, and Yamaha. And whatever else, even Formula A, whatever, right? They would still run the four-cycle because it kept you smooth.
Yeah.
Even I know these kids, I want to go faster. Keep running your 206 because it's all about momentum, right?
Oh, John Crow,
right?
Yeah, and
John Crow
Matt
said
Johnson,
that
right?
Same thing. Matty said that he learned a bunch when he was doing the 206 thing, and John said that he gained. Phenomenal driver and road tax and stuff like that.
He found he was that much more precise than the shifter.
Yeah, it actually helped him. And that's, he's also a nut. Like his ability to run a 206, a shifter, and I think X30 or whatever the same bloody day.
I know, right?
Good God.
I know. But that's just one of the things I remember picking that up in the 90s. That all those top drivers, the dads and moms had them run a four-cycle and whatever were they running. It was a big Yamaha back in the 90s, but when we were there, a lot of kids ran Yamaha, but they ran both. They ran both classes, right? Back and forth on a day, smooth and throwing it around a little bit.
Yeah.
When you're out there and you're calling these races, and we kind of talked about it earlier, where you're saying that eventually in Indy you're gonna get that kid that you called up. You covered the sport for a very, very long time. I have to figure you've actually obviously juniors into seniors. There's going to be some seniors into masters that you've probably also gotten a chance to watch that a little bit.
Well, I always say that the problem right now with a 30-year-old masters class is there are kids that I covered when they were in cadets I now have to race against in masters.
Right.
It's not fair.
They're literally masters drivers because they're 31 or 32 now, and I covered them when they were 8, 9, and 10. Right. I could race against Daniel DeLeo because he's over 30 years old now.
Yeah.
Right. Which is horrible.
Well, here's a question for you too. Like as a masters driver, and I feel better about it now because I'm almost 39, or when this airs, I'll right there.
Yeah.
But at 30 years old, and some are like, oh, you still should run senior or whatever. Derek is actually the elder statesman at KA senior right now at 26.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because most of the kids now are 14, 15, 16. And once, when we start seeing a move out of senior is when they start hitting 2 something or late teens, like Brooksy basically, he was doing car stuff too. Drew, Jake Drew,
Yep.
starting to move on. So that it's that 20s, right? That you're like, I don't really want to run against the kids. And some of them are a little bit more elbows up than maybe they should be or whatever.
Yep.
We're not all Ryan Norberg, right?
Yeah,
so they
no
can get
kidding.
it done. I don't know how old. He's a 20.
Got to be 22
Yeah,
or 23.
like there,
Yep.
right? And he's on the cusp. He's getting old in that group. But at 30, I think Masters is all right. Where as you're starting to see these different elements or these different age levels, do you think is there a spot for another class in there? I mean, I have a hard time because the Masters group's not exactly as full as I think it should be, regardless of classes or whatever. But that whole middle group seems to be a tough ask.
It's almost like it's no man's land right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Between 23 and 29, where guys are waiting, right? They're just like the stalwarts, like a Matt Johnson or a Bonner Moulton, and those guys would keep running senior, right? In the shifter or whatever. That's why I personally hate 14-year-olds and senior.
Yeah.
Personally, if it was me, I'd make seniors 17 and up. I just don't like the fact that I don't think a 25-year-old guy should be racing against a 14-year-old, right? Because then if something happens on the racetrack, the guy's going to fight the guy's dad.
Yeah.
I shouldn't.
Exactly.
If you're going to race a senior class, you better be able to stand up for yourself. You shouldn't be. It shouldn't. I just don't like. I think.
Well, and Cars has kind of created that, didn't it? Because these kids are getting into cars now at 13. How many 13 years
13,
old to get into a
12.
car?
Yep.
12.
Yep.
But how come I can run a car, but I can't be in senior?
Yeah.
So I think that's how that kind of started.
Well, but it changes everything for the weight as well, right? The weight's got to be so low for these kids. It never needed to get that young. And yes, it was to try to keep the kids in karting as long as that. At least I guess as long as we could keep them in karting, right, and move them forward. I personally 16 and up for sure. That's what we need.
It's like a super senior almost at the next level.
And I don't mind the concept of potentially having like a window where your kid doesn't have to move up to senior if he wants. So say he's 16 and he's pretty tiny and he's new, maybe he stays in junior. Like
right.
We could have a more flexible deal of where you can go. Like some kid that's really, really good. Yeah, if you're 15, you want to move up to senior, but you can't do it if you're 2 years into the sport and struggling a little bit. I don't like the fact that guys that are 22, 23, 24 have to race against 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
That's a really that's a really tough part of our sport right now.
Yeah.
And you're like you said, well, what do? Do we add another class? Do you add like a 20? I don't know.
I was almost thinking like a junior too. You know, you get 15 to 17 or something like that.
There you go. Yep.
That was another thought, but I'm like,
but then you're just
we're
diluting again, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I think
but
that's the challenge.
We don't have if we had 300 people racing, we could do it.
Right.
You could say, let's be real. We can do this. We can change it around a little bit. But yeah, and again, it's just I've been doing it so long right now. You kind of see the change of the ages of people. What we have, like we had a really good run of Masters racing for a while there because all the guys that were seniors when in the mid 90s or early 2000s all of a sudden became Masters ages, and we had like 30 something guys in Masters. Well, now they're all 40 or something, and they don't think they can compete with the 30-year-old.
right.
And then we started the Super Masters categories, which were big for a bit, and then have fallen back off again.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just a flow of
ebb and flow of the actual group
the
of people.
demographics. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And the thing is, what you see on a regular basis, the people getting into karting are anywhere from a munchkin to like what we see. If you're coming from a Rive and Drive, you're 12 plus already.
Yeah.
And I think that's a tough age too. If you're 12, you just learned about karting, and you're going to jump into a junior when these kids have been running for freaking damn near 10 years already.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
true.
that's the
very true.
challenge. And then, we get a lot of them. They're already adults, so now they're jumping into senior. Oh, by the way, you're going to rub elbows with Jake Drew and friggin' Jake Craig or whatever out there. You know,
And that was, you know what? There's been conversation for the last 5 to 10 years about having more of a tag pro class, right? Where you'd have, like again, S1 and S2, T1 and T2. I know I've had 5 years ago, Tom Kutcher and I had discussions about maybe splitting up tag because there were so many tag guys, but we had 50 something at the Summer Nats, but do we need to have 50 something, or could we have had 20 and 30? Can we have 20 pro guys?
Yeah, or ideally, do you get
tag.
30 and 30?
Whatever
and now
it
you've
is.
actually gotten more entries.
Yeah.
Would you rather have the overall and then a subcategory for that, or would you rather have two actual separate classes?
Well, the simple fact right now is there's no room for separate
Yeah.
classes, right? We're already, SCUSA races are already super, super long because there's so many classes as there is.
Yeah.
So there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, regardless of the scenario, you're still kind of stuck anyway.
We're hamstrung with the schedule, the daily schedule.
Yeah. Speaking of schedule, that's another thing I want to ask you was that when you're here doing all these things, how do you You talk about managing the voice. How in the hell do you manage the voice to make sure you can get through an entire weekend? I know you kind of go all out on Sunday.
The only race I struggle with is the Supernats.
Yeah.
I can literally do an entire road to Indy weekend, and there's never, I don't know why, but there's never an issue. And Pro Tour weekend, never an issue. It's when I get too excited on Situation Saturday.
It's Christmas.
On Situation Saturday, and then Sunday I struggle. Thank God I had that medicine ball from Starbucks. I think Jody Holden brought that for me. That kind of saved my voice. But yeah, Cole put all the rewinds up, right? I was listening to 2011 or 2012 or something, and my voice was shot like it was garbage on Sunday. I love the sport so much. I get excited about it. People say, I remember somebody on a forum once said that, posted something that my style sounded like it was like a put on, like I was going over, I was like going overboard. And I'm like, no, literally, I love this, so I get super excited about it. It's awesome.
It's authentic.
I just get super excited about it.
Yeah.
I just got to calm myself down in some of the heat races, right? Or even qualifying. I get excited about qualifying. I love qualifying. I think it's awesome. I just can't.
Easy, big guy.
Oh, exactly that. And the minute I've heard it, like I'll say something and be like, ah! I go, oh no,
it's a little early for that.
Oh, it's Friday. I'm in trouble. This is not good. Back it down.
Oh man,
back it down.
Is there? As you start going and you see the sport progress and change and stuff like that, what have been some of the bigger surprises? Because, I mean, you've covered it for so long. Is there other things where you figure it's going to go that we talked about, ebb and flow of classes, but something where it took a left turn, you're like, wait, okay, didn't see that coming? Or is it you kind of like, no, I could predict that?
No, nothing. I don't think I've really been shaken. Maybe when Rotax, the first fall of Rotax, it was really strong there for a while, but then all of a sudden, it went away, and then Bill Wright sold the Florida Winter Tour. That kind of caught me off guard a bit, and then when Rotax really went in the dump like it did, and everybody kind of bailed on for it, onto it, that kind of surprised me a little bit because it's such a great package.
Yeah,
right.
Super popular at the time.
That one caught me off guard, but no, one of the things about our sport is it's still all people. It's all driven by people, right? We're not mechanical, so the people that are running the certain organizations, they're going to evolve and grow and change. When Stars of Karting had its run, Paul Zaley was running that, and he kind of wanted to move on to a different direction, right? And the Pro Tour, SCUSA Pro Tour is now into its 11th year. Will be into its 11th year. I've never seen 11 years of anything in the 25 years I've been doing this, because WK Constructors Championship was 2 years. That was Formula A and JICA. And then the first running of the SCUSA Promoto Tour was 99, 2000, maybe 5-6 years. And then Stars came in with Ray Hull and and Zalud and kind of took over for them. And then Zalud was like, I kind of want to get. He's tried to sell his series. That didn't go over well. Another series started, CKI. They were around for, I think, 2 years, just didn't get the support. Like, literally had some races with 35 people total. One of them being here at Cal Speed. It was like 30. It was like 3 in a class and a couple classes. And then that point, national racing stopped. Just like that. Or like after that race, nobody did anything. And then Kutcher stepped up in 2010, and we've been 11 years with the Pro Tour. It's just all ebbs and flows. It's all people, right?
When now you get USPCAS on the other end.
USPCAS, tremendous job. They've been doing a tremendous job. I think they're in their 8th year or something.
I heard that program's really nice.
Yeah, they do a great job. Mark Coates does a really good job. Really good people, surrounded by great people there. And numbers breed numbers.
Yeah, for sure.
People want to go race against the best, and on the East Coast right now, USPCAS is it, man.
And
people love it.
It's not a national tour per se, but it is that kind of marquee deal. Yeah, Challenge of the Americas now with 13 years they're doing their deal.
Yeah.
Or was 13, sorry. Is she going into 14?
Is this 14 now for Andy's deal?
I think they're going into 14.
And record numbers, like he got his, he's got record numbers last year. And again, Andy's another one. It's top down, right? It's the atmosphere, Andy, who he is, and the way he runs the program. He's got great people with Taylor and everybody who's involved in the program. Just fantastic people to run that with. Mark Michione and of course Shelby up in the scoring tower. We're really privileged to be part of it. But again, that's the atmosphere, right? Andy creates this fun atmosphere.
For sure,
it's still hardcore racing, but everybody's having a good time still, right?
No, and that was cool because you and I both had our first challenge race at the beginning of the year, right?
Yep.
It was that you had that intensity of going for the trophy and big event, but you still had that club type atmosphere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which was really cool to get you through the weekend, especially for us being our first time.
Well, it was super helpful too.
Yeah.
The whole tech crew and whatnot, because we're like declarations. What the hell
what
is
are you talking
this?
about?
Yeah. But so they kind of helped us out with that deal and figured it out. Yeah.
It's a really cool that kind of balance of pro racing feel. Like, this is a big race to be at. You're winning tickets, and this is a big race, and the racing's so good, but everybody's still there to have a really good time.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah,
because Cole and I keep pound that to people who talk about karting. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
If it's not fun, you're not doing it right.
100%.
Well, that's been the cool part on this show. I mean, we've had definitely more Masters drivers than anyone else on the show, and mostly because they just have so many stories.
That's right.
But pretty much all of them come back to it's for fun.
Yeah.
And these guys that have had a chance to go pro for whatever reason, they come back to karting, but they came back to karting because it was fun. And man, it just keep preaching it.
It's we did an interview. We still have it somewhere on eKarting News. Tim Blaney, when he was working for Ski, did an interview with Dan Weldon, and it's just a tremendous interview from the Supernats, and just talking about karting being pure motorsport. There's just not. It's pure. Like, I do a lot of stuff with car racing. You guys obviously know the car racing side. The technical side of it's so crazy, right? It's really, karting is however many feet of tubing, a seat, a driver, and wheels, and like it's not the shocks, it's not downforce, it's just you in the cart.
Yeah.
Like, literally you become like the movie, you become one with the cart, right? You really, to be fast, you become one, which is amazing.
Yeah, you could, 9 times out of 10, I'll come off the course, I'm like, probably I messed that up. That was me.
Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah. Well, that's when I say when I hardly ever work on my cart, because I'll go to a race, a track I've never been to before. I don't change anything on the cart until I think I'm 90% of where I need to be.
Right.
Like, if I'm missing 8, like, why would I, like, it's loose going in here? Well, probably because I'm taking the corner too incorrectly. I constantly turn in too early. I got to wait on that. Like, it's always going to be me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, and you mention this all the time with the bumpers and whatnot, the ads and stuff that you'll do. Naming Alan Rudolph is one, but you don't buying speed. The best way to buy speed is buy coaching.
Buy
some
100%
freaking help on yourself, because that's going to get you a hell of a lot more for your dollar.
Well, that's the one side for kids, especially, or anybody. Like, man, go to the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, get some coaching, because then you can be faster. And then I laugh. I love when some old fat Masters guy bitch and complains about his engine being, I'm like, what are you worried about, dude? You're like 5/10 off at the end of the race because you're fat, old, and slow, and you're out of shape. If a Masters driver wants to get faster, get in shape.
Yeah.
Like, literally, look at and John Crowe's a perfect example. John was like, we always see him in and out, right? He'd be there with us. Now the guy eats he eats like an athlete. That's why at however old, I don't even know how old John is, because I couldn't tell you, because he's probably younger than I would think, right? Or older than I would think, because he looks fantastic. And that guy can turn the same lap at the end of a 25 lap shifter final than he did at the start.
Yeah.
That's speed.
Yeah.
People that want to buy another axle or more horsepower, and they're a half a second off or a second off because they're out of shape.
Yeah.
There's your speed.
You
right
point
there.
the finger right there.
That's exactly it.
Nut
Man.
behind the wheel.
Yeah,
we get a few guys out in the Rive and Drive carts saying stuff. I'm like, man, we already have a 200-pound minimum. You're about 230, buddy.
Yeah.
So I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah.
Start there.
Yeah. If you love the sport, great way to lose 30 pounds.
Yeah.
Come on.
There you go.
It's your motivation.
Yeah.
Because you'll find speed for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Even in the endurance, because you've got to be. You guys know this. You have to be fast from the start to the finish. Right. And I see guys fall on their faces all the time in the last 10 laps of a 25 lapper. Me being one of them. I would tell you that.
Well, it's not like you get a chance to go out there and drive all the bloody time.
But it doesn't even matter. It's just like anybody can get in better shape. But that's just when you're talking about buying speed, coaching number 1, and being the best you number 2.
Yeah.
Easy
and again, we're all talking about not the go-kart now.
Yeah, not the go-kart.
Yeah.
Well,
the spongy thing between the seat and the steering wheel.
Come on.
Yeah.
Actually, he's got a lot of planned racing for next year. I'm trying to work on my club racing plan, but we stepped up in the last few weeks and started working out and stuff. And I'm like, I've got the right mindset. I can definitely mentally get the job done. But I knew physically this year, especially after COVID, I definitely wasn't physically there.
I put the COVID-19 on for sure.
Yeah.
That's why they named it that.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
You know what's going to happen?
Yeah,
19 pounds.
Jesus. Patting that one. But I'm like, man, if I'm going to go out there, because I'm getting the best equipment they can give me from Formula Works, I'm like, I want to give them the best shot. And right now, I am pretty shitty.
Listen, Derek, if you're dedicated to it, you got exactly that.
For sure.
They're giving you the best equipment. You got to give them the best you.
Yeah.
And you look at any IndyCar driver now. That's the one thing when these guys step up to Indy from Indy Lights. That's a handful of car. Like that IndyCar there's no power steering, right? We watch those guys. Those guys.
Well, and look at the guys that are still doing it, right? Castro Neves just got another 6-race deal or whatever.
Yep.
He's getting those deals because he's still in good shape and can still drive.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
He can produce. Absolutely.
Yeah.
maybe circling things up here and kind of rolling it back to e-karting news. We talked about the different changes in the sport or what have you that you've witnessed over the years. And how about EKN? Obviously, this year you have the face-to-face, like a lot more online content.
Yeah.
And I should say live content as well, where it's not like, oh, we're going to do this little thing, we'll put it up there like a podcast. This is nice. We get to record this, and we're not putting it up for a few months because I got time, blah, blah, all kinds of crap. It ain't that way when it's live. No. And having to try to get all the different personalities, and then it gets harder. You did all this stuff, badass. And then, we're all back to work again. It gets a little bit challenging again to try to keep that going. Aside from just how do you keep doing that now, what do you see going down the road as far as coverage goes, whether it be karting or otherwise?
For EKN, again, the evolution over the 16 years has been crazy, right? From the old site that we had in the forums to the new site, so much of our content delivery being put on social media as well. Not just Facebook and Twitter with our results every session by session results, but telling the story of events using Instagram and the Instagram story and stuff like that. But then moving to now, because with COVID, all the live stuff we've done. I love doing it. I think it's fantastic. It's going to extend our days because we're likely going to have to do some more primetime shows because guys that we are going to want to interview aren't, they're going to be at work. So we're going to be getting them at 7 or 8 at night. So we'll probably do some primetime stuff. For me, it opens the door for us because we have the technology now. We're going to get better at it. We could easily have a round table where we all just have the happy hour. We crack a couple beers and just talk about the sport, right?
Right.
And I think people would think that was really interesting. Like what you guys are doing is fantastic. But can you imagine if let's say you had four of your guys.
Yeah.
So it's all three of us plus Hayner, plus Crow, plus Cleveland, plus Matt Johnson, whoever, in a big room and just go around kind of a round table.
And today's topic is blank.
Exactly right. And I have a feeling that we're going to EKN's going to be moving in that direction. We're going to do a lot more content.
Well, nice. I think what's probably the best part, you keep talking about karting and racing in general, but definitely karting being people. Mm-hmm. I think what's really nice and what I've always really liked about e-karting news, we talked about it with IKN back in the day. Yep. It's keeping it like you're the glue. You know what I mean? There's racing all over the world, certainly, but for EKN, it's predominantly we're talking about North America, the States. There's shit going on the East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, and I can go to one place, and the community is in this. It's glued together. With EKN. We
call ourselves the hub. The hub of karting on the internet to a certain extent. All I would add to that is that DavidCole and I take that responsibility really, really seriously. Right? That we're the voice of the sport. Right, and whether it's our voice through our original editorial, or if somebody's sending us in releases or news stories or whatever, right, we're the place that we want to be able to get that out to people. I think we all know now, we're still in the middle of the chaos of the elections. There's no real news media anymore. They're also biased. We do our best to try to stay not biased, and trust me, I get it all the time. You're in Tom Kutcher's back pocket. You're in this guy's back pocket. This series was on or whatever. This guy's series was on the entire front page, or you don't cover us over here. Send it if you're a racing series. Send it in. We'll put it up. Like we always say that, right? People just don't send us stuff, which is the problem. And it's literally we're a 2-man show, right? So it's just DavidCole and I, right? There's only so much. There's only so much we can get done. Right?
Well, and I think on the other side of it too. Sorry, Pro Tours this weekend. That's going to take the headline over your club race.
Exactly right. Yeah. So. But again, one of the things we did, and I've said this before, especially with the magazine. So let's say late 2000s, even in early of this decade, or the last decade, I guess. Now we're in a new one. I'm guilty of really focusing on the pro stuff at one point. I was because Shifter Card Illustrated magazine was all about pro coverage. I was trying to be the racer or the Racer X. That's what I tried to do, right? Okay. There was already National Kart News and a couple other newspapers. I started it because I wanted to show our sport as a pro sport. Like if you look back at some of my old issues where we literally have the graphic drawings of the side of each karts with all their graphics.
Yeah, it was badass.
That's cool.
For the pro, every pro race, if you go on there, I had a little write-up of every driver's race.
It was the spotter guide kind of thing.
Yeah, but
nice.
For every driver's race, they did this in the heat race. Like it was like each driver had a 1x1. It took me forever to do that. But even with the magazine, the website, DavidCole and I we kind of got focused on covering nothing but national stuff. And I think maybe it was the rise of the Briggs program, whatever it may be. We were like, you know what? We need to take care of the foundation of the sport, because karting's a pyramid, right? The bottom's the foundation, club racing, Briggs, whatever. Then you go up to the regional series, then the Pro Tour and Challenge and Rock Cup stuff is on the very top, right? For a while there, we got too focused on the top. Not that we were too big for our britches. We just felt like that's what we were covering. We wanted to cover all the pro stuff. And we have parents saying, you got to cover this. This is the pro stuff. This should be what everybody aspires to do.
Well, and it's not just the aspirations. It's also where all the money's at.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. And that's the races we were being hired to come and cover. With the whole grassroots movement from Briggs and working closely with Briggs, first David Klaus, now Dan Roach, who I work with now at Briggs, we just kind of got a renewed feeling for, hey, you know what? We need to take care of the sport. That's what we do here. So we try to cover all that grassroots stuff, like club level racing, whatever it may be, man. It's still, as you guys know, racing at a club could be just as good as racing at a pro tour.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
For sure.
And with just as much emotion and passion at a club level. Right?
Absolutely.
So that's one of the changes that we've made. At least I have caught, maybe unconsciously, over the last 5 or 6 years. Really want to take care of the sport itself.
Well, if you think about it, it's what fills most of the calendar.
Yeah.
You've got your 6 to 10 pro weekends. All the rest of them are not, because a lot of the local stuff is trying to stay off of those ones. So, I mean, for instance, at Cal Speed, we've got 19 arrive and drive weekends, and we've got, LAKC's got 9 rounds, Tri-C's got 8 rounds, plus we got a couple other things. We got about 20 freaking, local stuff. So, if you think about it, most of karting, like you said, pyramid.
Well, and again, pro racing, 5%, maybe 5%. I usually say about 3% of the sport is pro karting. Top level stuff. Mm-hmm. Everybody else is racing, Saturday mornings or whatever, Sundays, and it's with Ma and Pa out of the back of the pickup truck or whatever, which is pure karting.
Yeah.
Right?
And we're having just as much fun, if not more.
That's it.
And drinking about the same amount of beer at the end of it.
Yeah, pretty much.
If there was one thing you could kind of pull back from the older days of karting, what do you think you'd want to pull back into the current times? Whether it be class structure, motor, whatever.
I'll say 2 things. One thing I've always tried to do this, focus on it. I try to focus more on the adults in karting as the pros. There was a time with IKF, and it really was a big problem for IKF Region 7. I came out and they hired me to announce a couple of races, and I could see the swing of everybody focusing on the juniors as being the pros, and the senior guys were kind of started going away. There was hardly any guys in senior sports. They're falling to the wayside. The reason we need our seniors to be pros, to be the stars, so that the juniors have something to aspire to. They don't want to bail out early, right?
Right.
Juniors are juniors, really good. Congratulations. We focus on the senior drivers, right? We're very lucky to have a Ryan Norberg, 4-time champion, 20-something years old, dedicated to the sport. You know what I mean? The guy's he's a legitimate celebrity star in the sport of karting, right? Mm-hmm. I don't put star power on a 13-year-old.
Right.
I just don't do it. That's not my deal. I don't know it's hard to say I would want to roll it back. I hate that we have so much bodywork on the karts. That's I think their karts are way too heavy.
Right.
Our karts are way too heavy, too much bodywork. I personally, I don't know. I would love to be able to get rid of the rear bumper. I just think we're in a time right now where it's a lot of bumper cars. Now the pushback bumpers helped a little bit, I think. Obviously the starts for sure, it's helped. It's kind of taken a bit of the racecraft to a certain extent, because you should be able to move somebody a little bit. That's part of our sport. But I know that when I drove my vintage kart, which is a 1980 Margay Expert 2, it's light, it's nimble. Like you could literally pick it up by yourself and put it on top of your stand. It's back when karting was a lot more pure than it even is now.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's just we have so much bodywork on our karts. They're so heavy.
I was on the scales today with all my gear, 205. Which I feel very good about.
That's pretty solid.
With all the gear.
Yeah.
Very, very happy with that. My class is 180. Excuse me, 380. So just to give you an idea, we're talking about 100, quick math, 175 on the go-kart?
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, I had 5 pounds on it, so 170-pound go-kart.
A lot of masters haven't had to put weight on their go-karts in a long time, so that's good for you.
You want to talk about aspiring? We aspire to.
Yeah. Well, that's the one issue I do have. There's a couple of organizations that have Masters 206 at 390, and literally the kart's 155 pounds.
Yeah.
I roll in at 200, 205 or whatever, and I've got to put 40 pounds on my kart.
I always felt that 200 should be the cap. Like if a driver is 200 plus go kart, that's basically your cap. That's it. After everything, because if you're over 200 pounds and you're not 6'9", All right. Well, if you're 6'9", you might not be doing a lot of karting anyways, just because it's going against you. Yeah. So I'm with you. 390 or a little much.
There's been a few Briggs programs I've looked at the sheets. I'm like, that's a lot for a Briggs, man.
Yeah. KPX runs 390, but there are some tall guys up there. Brian Gallagher and some of those guys up there at KPX are pretty big.
If you look at the class, okay, a lot of these guys are heavy. It's going to make sense.
Yeah,
it's
locally.
It's pretty easy to fix that too, right? Just one time. Roll the cart when they're weighing in, roll the cart, weigh the cart, and weigh the driver to find out what the average is. Are you doing this for two people, or are you doing it because half your guys need that extra?
And Tri-C did that for senior, and they brought senior down from what was 365 down, I want to say 355. Yeah, over a couple of years.
That's a great call.
Yeah.
And because you can always evolve it depending on the drivers you have, right, and the people you have in the sport.
Yeah, and they're masters at 370.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, I know that Cup Karts North America has started a Legends class for 50 and up.
Cool.
Which is kind of cool. Again, we talked about the 30, the 30 and up for Masters. They have a 50 and up called Legends, and I want to say it's only 375, which is not the 390.
Well, you do get smaller, I hear, as you get older. Shorter, anyway.
Maybe inch this way, kind of squatting down. Maybe.
Depends if you're going the other direction though, horizontal.
There you go. That's true. That doesn't work.
Well, as I said before, this thing is going to air in February, so we'll have already had a challenge under our belt and whatnot. So it's going to be, hindsight 2020 a little bit, when this thing does come out. 2021, obviously coming out of a very crazy 2020. Just to put maybe a point on this thing, how do we keep things rolling? How do we keep karting as strong as possible? And what do you see for 2021 here as we get things kicked off?
Here's the one takeaway I got from this year and talking to people in the industry. We were all at home for 4 months, or some guys not so quite as long. Some of the tracks started to open up. You talk to a lot of people in the industry; they've had a great year. They've actually had a great financial year because I think everybody realized, wow, we're damn lucky to be able to race karts. It's one of the things we were able to do this year when other organizations were running because we had smaller races, kind of under the radar a little bit. I think a lot of people said, you know what, man, we got a pretty cool family here, and I missed it being on the couch for 4 months. I want to go racing. And I think if there's any kind of a perception change for people in our sport right now, maybe to stop bitching a little bit and realizing how great karting is. It's all about fun. It's about family being out of the racetrack. I think we're going to have a really cool 2021. I really do, because I think this, well, you look at how the Challenge of the Americas wrapped up last year. We didn't get to go to the finale, but it was record numbers, 153 or something here for the finale, right? USPKS had some huge numbers this year as well. I think they're going to grow, probably even grow even a bit more. There's a regional series around. Gear Up Challenge up in the Northeast had a really good season. They did a couple of really good races up in Pacific Northwest that had huge numbers as well. There's good, good momentum there. I just think there's lots of momentum, and I think people will come off of this year and be happy and move forward. I just think it's a different perception right now.
Got put in perspective.
I think so. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. It is an absolute honor, a surprise, a pleasant one, and an honor to have you out here and get a chance to bullshit with you. And as you say, not really getting a chance to be on the other side of the mic very often. It's really, really great that you were able to take the time. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure, guys. My pleasure.
Thanks so much.
Okay.